Good evening. Welcome to the Tuesday, March 17th, 2026 meeting of the Plymouth Select Board. A call to order the meeting of the Select Board. Tonight, the board will meet in executive session pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Clause 6, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property if the chair declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body. I do so declare. We'll be meeting tonight to discuss 132 Warren Ave, Fraggle Inc., doing business as Sandy's Restaurant. This will be in regards to a lease extension. Again, I'll read into the record. The Select Board will hold the executive session pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Clause 3, to discuss the strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting of the Select Board may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigation position of the public body. If the chair so declares, I do so declare. This is in regards to the opioid litigation, 6 remnant defendants. Is there a motion of the board to enter into executive session and to return at approximately 6 p.m.?
So moved.
Mr. Canty makes the motion. Is there a second?
A second?
Ms. Iaquinto seconds. Is there discussion? Ms. Iaquinto?
Yes.
Mr. Canty?
Yes.
Mr. Cohan?
Yes.
Myself, yes. The board will enter executive session to return at approximately 6 p.m. Good evening, folks. Thank you for being here for the March 17th, 2026 meeting of the Plymouth Select Board. The board is back from executive session. Please join the board in the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, any person may make a video or audio recording of an open session of this meeting after first notifying the chair and subject to the reasonable requirements of the chair so as not to interfere with the conduct of the meeting. At the beginning of the meeting, the chair shall inform any attendees of such recordings. At present, I'm only aware of a recording by the local scene. Is there anyone else who's making a video or audio recording of this meeting? Very well. Pursuant to Chapter 2, the Acts of 2025, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency and signed into law on March 28, 2025. This meeting will be conducted via remote means and in person. Members of the public who wish to watch the meeting may do so by tuning in to the local scene, government cable access channels Comcast 9 or Verizon 47. You can also watch on the local scene's website or on the YouTube streaming platform. Members of the public who wish to participate may do so by appearing here in person at the Great Hall at Plymouth Town Hall, 26 Court Street, or remotely using the Zoom link, which is published on our agenda online. All right. So the first item on our agenda is licenses. We have just one license for an amplified music permit. Pleasure of the board.
Motion to approve the amplified music permit.
Mr. Canty makes the motion. Is there a second?
A second?
Ms. Iaquinto seconds. Discussion? Ms. Iaquinto?
Yes.
Mr. Canty?
Yes.
Mr. Cohan?
Yes.
Myself, yes. All right. There are some updates to our administrative notes. We are going to remove item number 6 for a future meeting. Pleasure of the board on item numbers 1 through 5.
I'll make a motion to approve the administrative notes 1 through 5 as listed.
Mr. Canty makes a motion. Is there a second?
I will second.
Ms. Iaquinto seconds. Discussion? Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Mr. Canty?
Yes.
Ms. Iaquinto?
Yes.
Myself, yes. All right, we'll move on to the public comment section of the agenda. Is there anyone in the room who wishes to register a public comment? Mr. McKay, please come up to the microphone.
Yeah, good evening. George McKay, Precinct 8. I originally wanted to be here to do a presentation that would take about 10 minutes, but the other option I had was to speak in public comment. there's been a lot of talk over the last 6 months or so about the budgets. And I know this board spent a lot of time trying to trim some expenses out of the budget. Spent a lot of time, and everybody got up at the podium, the various departments, the school department, the highway department, the police, fire, et cetera. And they said, oh, we're doing the best we can. And as a result of that, the board decided not to squeeze anymore, but let most of the expenses go to town meeting. My firm belief is that everybody, no matter what they do, whether it's private or public, can always squeeze a little bit out of their budget. So for people to get up here and say, oh, they wring their hands, we can't do any better, and they give you all kinds of reasons why they can't do anything, and in particular, the school system stands up here and says, if you cut anything out of our budget, you're against the schools, you're against the kids. So I started thinking about that, and I started looking around at what we could do or what other towns do when they have budgetary problems. And I'm, because you can tell by my hairline, I go to the Center of Active Living periodically. And one thing they do at the Center of Active Living is they add up the number of volunteer hours they have, and they get from everybody around town that does things for them, raising money, doing events, et cetera. And the United States government and the state publishes a list of what those volunteer hours are worth. And the District of Columbia, I think it's $50 an hour. I think California is the second highest, but Massachusetts also puts a dollar value on what volunteer hours are. And if I had the slides, I'd go into more detail. But actually, Massachusetts is the second highest. They value a volunteer hour at $42 an hour. So volunteers have value. And I believe the town does not use them sufficiently. And I put one slide up on the board. I was prepared to do 5. But once a year, the Center of Active Living gets together, rounds up all their volunteer hours, puts a dollar value on it, like $42 an hour, and they make a presentation of a check to the town. And last year it was about $1 million. I don't know what this year is going to be, but it's going to be about $1 million also, is my belief. And there's a lot of cities and towns that do this kind of thing, and my feeling is that Plymouth should copy some of those things that other cities and towns do to try and keep us away from the fiscal cliff that everybody's worried about. If we keep going in the direction we're going in, where we have more expenses than we have revenue, we're going to be faced very soon with an override. Everybody's been focused on cutting expenses. One way you can reduce or keep expenses flat is by the use of volunteers.
Mr. McKay, you've exceeded your 3 minutes. I can give you an
Okay,
additional
I have
minute.
2
to
more
wrap up.
sentences. The town has 40 committees. And periodically, including tonight, you will have volunteers that are volunteering for committees, and you will select a volunteer. For example, one committee you're going to vote on tonight, there's one opening, and you have 7 volunteers. 1 or 2 openings, you have 7 volunteers. So there's a lot of people out there that are willing to give their time and effort to either the town or the school to keep our finances in order. And that's all I have to say right now, but thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. McKay. Is there anyone else in the room who would like to give a public comment? I see Mr. DiNardo's hand up online.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Al DiNardo, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 17. Can you hear me okay?
We sure can.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, this has been moving very quickly, but I had sent to the board a resolution that I would like inserted in the warrant, and the resolution is about this new nuclear that Governor Healy is now leading initiative of. I just have a quick written statement. As John F. Kennedy once said, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Yesterday, Governor Healy took that first step. She stood at the Lynch School in Winchester and signed an executive order for an all-of-the-above energy strategy. This follows her tweet from just 3 weeks ago signaling a shift towards wind, solar, and nuclear. This is moving very quickly. That order explicitly includes wind, solar, and nuclear as the future of the Commonwealth. While the state is in Winchester planning that future, I have to ask, is Plymouth going to be at the center of that vision, or are we going to be left behind yet again? We are in a fiscal crisis. Our finances are at a breaking point. We need a path forward. This resolution dovetails our town financial needs with the state's new energy mandate. I'm asking this board tonight, and it is within your authority, to insert this resolution into the warrant. This is a non-binding resolution. It is a message to all parties involved, from the governor to the industry, that we are not going to use the heavy-handedness of zoning or bylaws to shut down the conversation. This is just a conversation, as I said in a recent letter to the editor. This is not a marriage. It signals that we are open to it. The town meeting body needs to chime in so the state knows exactly where Plymouth stands at this moment. And let me remind people, this door has been closed since 1982. It is finally opening. The town meeting has the power of the we. Let us show all parties involved we are ready to lead. Let's show the Commonwealth. And I thank you. And one other thing I want to remind the board, two things. Town meeting in Duxbury has already drafted an article in opposition to this. Again, this is just a conversation, and I would imagine that the board and others within the town would take this. And why is it important for town meeting to be heard? I want to remind folks that a few years back, we had negotiations about a horse track, and that did not go over too well. And later on, months later, town meeting ultimately came back. There was a outcry from the public, and town meeting voted a bylaw. That took many months of a distraction.
Mr.
This,
DiNardo, you've exceeded your 3 minutes. Could you, I'll give you an additional minute to wrap up.
yeah, this resolution will take that off the table. It will give us an idea of the mind of town meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DiNardo. Are there any other online public comments? Last chance, anyone in the room? All right, we will move on to our agenda proper. The first item on our agenda is an appointment to the Affordable Housing Trust. We have 2 terms, one that expires June 30th of this year and another that expires June 30th of 2027. We have 2 applicants, and we'll ask them both to come up, introduce themselves to the board, say why they'd like to be a part of the committee, and then we'll open it to questions. The first applicant is Barnaby Bozenke?
Bozenke.
All right.
So I'm Barnaby Bozenke. I live in precinct 15. I actually just closed on a house in precinct number 3, so I'll be changing pretty soon. But
Congratulations.
thanks. Right. So I applied to be a member of the Affordable Housing Trust. I'm, a former veteran Coast Guard officer. Just moved back here from Virginia. While I was in Virginia, I worked, volunteered for the county with 2 blind individuals who are living in public housing. So it sort of turned me on to the idea of supporting that constituency. So here I am. That's really all I have on that. Thanks.
Thank you. Questions from the board? Mr. Canty?
Thank you. Have you, in your experience in deciding to apply for the Affordable Housing Trust, is there anything that they are currently doing that you'd like to see them continue doing if you were to be appointed, or anything that they're not doing that you'd like to see them start doing were you to be appointed to this position?
Well, to be honest with you, I applied for 5 different boards, and I didn't study it that closely, I'll be quite honest with you, but I've served here in town on the zoning board in the past. So, I mean, I'm familiar with the necessity to, be ready for meetings and so forth. when the time comes. But I'm afraid I wasn't ready for a voir dire this evening for the Affordable Housing Trust.
Okay. Ms. Iaquinto?
Do you have an idea of what you would hope to accomplish as a member of the Affordable Housing Trust?
I mean, I want to make sure that we're responsibly spending the money, that's the funds that support that constituency. But other than that, I don't really have much of a plan, I
Okay,
suppose.
thank you.
Mr. Cohen?
Mr. Bozakay, when you were here before, I served on the Zoning Board of Appeals with you.
Yes, sir.
You served in that capacity. So during that permitting process of different housing initiatives, we were involved in that process. Money was given to the town in lieu of, and it ends up with this trust, and this trust gives out money.
Yes.
So I know that you're familiar with that process because we worked on it together on the Zoning Board of Appeals. I currently serve as a liaison from this board to that trust. But I think it's important to have people that are familiar with the community, the institutional knowledge that someone has growing up in Plymouth. Obviously, spending time outside of Plymouth and bringing back those experiences. So mostly our job is an application process. People file applications and we grant this money out to different organizations, but it would be associated with those things that we worked on the Zoning Board of Appeals. Have you been following the planning board in its deliberations when it comes to initiatives around housing, or?
To be honest with you, not really that closely.
Right.
But I mean, I consider myself to be competent to,
Right.
study and be prepared and represent the needs of the town in that regard. But no, I don't really have much to say about it right now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. We also have George Washington Hertz II.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members. I think I appeared before you about 6 weeks ago, and, I told you about my experience, and to the extent that's relevant, I defer to you. But it's essentially the same, hasn't changed. And although I have a few questions to the board, I know, please go ahead and you wish your questions first, if you like.
Questions? Mr. Canty?
I will ask you the same question. Is there anything that the Affordable Housing Trust is currently doing that you'd like to see them keep doing if you were to be appointed, or anything that they're not doing that you'd like to see them start doing?
So as I sat there and heard you ask that question, I thought, wow, maybe he knows something that I don't, and maybe I should ask you that question. Is there anything that concerns you with respect to what's not being done that should be focused on going forward that I might be aware of? We should be aware.
It's an interesting response. Well, I would say that generally, I think the Affordable Housing Trust is trying to do what they can with the resources that they have in regards to developing more affordable housing. But it is a pressing concern in the community, the issue of affordability. And I would like to see personally more connective tissue between the Affordable Housing Trust and other entities in the community that are working on housing and affordable housing to produce more units throughout the community that naturally fit into neighborhoods as either new developments are built or new projects are considered. There are various other entities, CPC, and there's private entities that could be liaised with as well. That's what I would like to see, is more collaboration between existing affordable housing involved or housing involved entities.
As I read about the paperwork that's associated with this committee, one of the things I came across was the Housing Heroes. And I was just wondering how successful they've been, or do you have any view in terms of, the upside? Because there would seem to be some upside there in terms of creation and funding and,
Well, I think a lot of people are doing what they can, but I think it's an ongoing, it's one of those things where there's always a need. There probably always will be a need. There are current issues with not having enough affordable housing presented, in the sense of, if we had 10% SHI, we could avoid 40Bs in certain neighborhoods.
Sure.
We could allow more affordable housing to be within the character of neighborhoods rather than overriding it. We could also target money towards lowering the area median income, so that it is lower than the 80%, so that it's more truly affordable for people in this area. But I think the near-term issue is, I think people are doing what they can within their siloed roles. But if we had more connective tissue, I think we might be able to get to that 10%. That would be one way to help get to 10% sooner.
I look forward to getting that 10%,
Yes,
as everybody else does.
yes.
Ms. Iaquinto?
Welcome back, Mr. Hertz. I do remember you from a few weeks ago. What piqued your interest in applying for the Affordable Housing Trust?
Well, I think attending the Zoning Board of Appeals first, got me interested with the 40B, and then doing some research on my own and actually learning how much I didn't know. And that's always an interesting thing, and I found myself to be very interested in it. And then I looked at the properties that are deemed to be affordable housing, very shocked. But, I know a lot of the properties, and was very encouraging to me. I think it's a good thing to be associated with. I think I would enjoy doing the work. I think I could bring some value and make a difference. So that's why I'm here.
Thank you.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes, relating to affordable housing, is there any experience you've had in and around this subject matter that you could have?
When you say constraints,
Well, no, I guess your experiences on affordable housing?
I don't know that I have any specific
Right.
personally, except, what I've observed, through meetings and readings.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mr. Hertz, do you have a preference to either the term that expires this June or next June?
Do not.
Okay,
I had two questions, if I may.
sure, why not?
So looking at the scope of the responsibilities, it looks like the person in this, or the people in this position, will be acting in a fiduciary capacity. And I'm assuming, is my understanding correct?
I mean, I think they are dispersing funds that are held by the trust.
I saw somebody, yeah,
I think you can go through a process to become a trustee, but I don't think it's automatic. My recollection is that there is a process to become a trustee to the trust, if you were inclined. And then you would have a fiduciary duty to the trust.
because my follow-up question to that was, for the people like myself or whoever would be acting or participating, would they be indemnified and held harmless with respect to their actions, assuming, they're within, they're what the actions are and not one of, gross negligence or willful misconduct? And if it is, how is that provided? Is that by statute, or is that by documentation, or by, in my private world, I'd say secondary D&O?
I'm not an attorney, and I wouldn't want to render an opinion from here. Would any attorneys who sit up here like to do so?
Well,
And I wouldn't ask you to do that as an attorney, because I don't want you to be an attorney tonight. I was just asking as a board if you know that, because I've asked that question around, and I've asked of certain departments of the town, and basically the answers I got was, well, are you going to the board? Go ask them.
well, I appreciate that response from the staff. I'll have to
I
follow
won't
up
tell
with them.
you, he said.
But, so I would say your work within a town, any town board or committee is generally covered by the town's insurance. And then if you were to be a trustee, that would involve certain additional criteria that would be explained to you at that time. If you were to conduct yourself in accordance with the good faith practices of that, then you would not have any issues. Obviously, if you were a trustee and there was embezzlement or something like that, I'm not suggesting that that's what you're trying to protect yourself from being prosecuted from, but like that would be a very different conversation. But the terms and conditions of your role as a trustee, which would be voluntary, would be explained to you in detail at that time. And that would not be something you would be compelled to do.
I just know from past experiences as an officer or director of a corporation, and people can sue for any reason, right reason, wrong reason. They can name
Right.
anybody they want to, and then there's the cost of defense, there's,
That would be,
costs-
yeah, that would be covered by the town's insurance. If you're conducting yourself in the ordinary course of your business and you're subject to litigation, that would be, so,
I appreciate that explanation.
you're welcome.
Thank you for your application. Since I asked Mr. Hertz, I'll ask Mr. Bozankay. Do you have a preference, and you can come back up to the mic, do you have a preference as to which you'd take? He has indicated he does not have a preference. We could, we have 2 terms, we could move both forward. If someone wants to make a motion to nominate for either or both terms, Mr. Canty?
So I would make a motion to nominate Mr. Hers for the term ending in 2027 and Mr. Bozankay for the term ending in 2026.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Mr. Canty makes the motion, Ms. Iaquinto seconds. Discussion? Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Mr. Quintel?
Yes.
Mr. Canty?
Yes.
Ms. Iaquinto?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Congratulations, you've both been appointed. Please be sworn in by the town clerk. We'll move on to the Natural Resources and Coastal Beaches Committee appointments. We have 2 terms, one that's expiring in June of this year. That is a neighbor from Morton Park, and 1 term expiring June 30th of 2028. That is a citizen at large. We are going to start with Mr. Bozankay again.
So since I'm already appointed to something else, I was actually just I was looking through the candidates here, and the main thing I was gonna hold myself out as a natural resources person on was the fact that I had graduated from Mass Maritime with an environmental science degree. But there's another applicant in here who actually graduated with the same degree 20 years later. So I'm just gonna, I'm gonna step aside and recommend the newer applicant here, so.
Thank you. Our next applicant is Lee Corwin. Is Lee in the room? Is Lee online? All right. Our next applicant is Grace Dixon. Is Miss Dixon in the room? Is Miss Dixon online? Looks like it. Go ahead, Miss Dixon. You can unmute yourself and introduce yourself to the board.
Hello, folks. I'm that Mass Maritime graduate.
Welcome. Tell
Hi,
us.
can you folks hear me?
We sure can.
Thank you. So a little bit about myself. Currently, I am a master's student at University of Massachusetts Dartmouth, and I'm doing my master's on cranberry bog restorations. And I noticed that in this town, I grew up in Plymouth, that we're really kind of retiring these old cranberry bogs and restoring these wetlands, and I think it's really important, and I'd like to be a part of that. And then also, before I went into my master's, I did a year of research at the Marine Biological Laboratory, and I did a lot of research on seagrass. And I'd like to kind of use that expertise into implementing some of these nature-based solutions to sea level rise, but also to maybe mitigate some coastal erosion that's been happening on Plymouth Long Beach, and maybe also mitigate some of the costs that we're spending on kind of re-engineering that seawall over and over again.
Thank you very much. Questions from the board? Mr. Canty?
Ms. Dixon, is there anything that the Natural Resources and Coastal Beaches Committee is currently doing that you'd like to see them keep doing if you were to be appointed, or anything that they're not doing that you would like to see them start doing?
Like I kind of already went over, was the seagrass restoration. I feel like maybe we could allocate some of the budget a little bit more towards nature-based solutions. But one thing that I think that the committee is doing a great job at is beach renourishment.
Okay, and are you applying for the citizen at large position?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Other questions? Mr. Cohen?
Yes, as a recent graduate of the Maritime and now at Dartmouth in the graduate program, around this issue, you talked about, obviously climate change is having a dramatic effect on our beaches in terms of erosions, and you mentioned something about seawalls, replenishment, and seagrass. Could you talk a little bit more about how that might be beneficial to the town of Plymouth in a committee capacity?
Definitely. So seagrass, native to our area is Zostra marina. If we invest more into these nature-based solutions, this is an eelgrass that kind of coats these coastal areas, and it does a great job at sediment trapping. It also does a great job at carbon sequestration and habitat for juvenile fisheries that then supports our local fisheries and our shellfish beds as well. When we get these big storms that come in, we all know waves are crashing over the seawall. What seagrass can actually do is basically subvert some of that wave action and really help to protect our coasts. And I think that's a great avenue to look into. I also think that we have a great shellfish program going on right now, especially down at Long Beach. And I think that maybe we could possibly implement some oyster reefs. Those, in turn, an oyster can actually filter out 60 gallons of water a day, and they can really help our coastal water quality, but also help with that erosion and that wave impact and help us mitigate, re-engineering the seawall over and over again.
Thank you. I just, as people move forward on this committee, obviously with climate change and the things that you've noted, there's been also talk of strategic retreat in terms of preparing for those eventual events that could cost the municipality, significant amounts of money to maintain when it comes to those things that you outlined. But thank you very much. Interesting Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next applicant is Darlene Ford. Come on up, Ms. Ford.
Good evening. What would you like me to do? Speak about myself first?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
So I submitted an application for this committee. I'm a Plymouth resident since 1980. So really my motivation was caring about the community and volunteering. I don't have the wonderful science background that the last speaker did. I don't come with skills that are geared towards natural resource control. I don't have a lot of knowledge about that. I can tell you that I live on a fresh pond here in Plymouth. I used to be involved with I volunteered with the education department at the New England Aquarium. So of course you're learning because you're there about things that are relative to coastal management and those types of things. But I would never claim to be an expert at any of this. This is really about looking to give back to the community in an area that I care about. I care about managing and conserving and taking care of natural resources, our beaches and those types of things. So that's why I submitted my application.
Thank you. Questions from the board? Mr. Canty?
Thank you. Is there anything that the Natural Resources and Coastal Beaches Committee is currently doing that you'd like to see them keep doing if you were to be appointed? Or is there anything that they're not doing that you would like to see them start doing?
I can't speak intelligently to that, like Mr. Bosanquet, if you don't mind. I'm in that same position. I did not do a lot of research about what the committee is up to right now, so I would be foolish to stand here and say, oh, blah, 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 blah. I don't know.
Okay. And your residential address is on Macaja Pond Road, is that
Little
correct?
Little Macaja Pond.
Little
Mhm.
Macaja Pond.
There's two. There's a regular Macaja and a little
Yes,
Macaja.
yes, okay. I think that would qualify, so, for the neighbor of Morton Park. There's one citizens at large and there's one neighbor, and it looks like you would qualify for the neighbor.
Oh, okay.
Feverishly trying to look up addresses up here while we're doing this. Would you be open to the term which expires on June 30th of this year for the neighbor of Morton Park?
Open to the term that expires this year, is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
sure.
Other questions from the board? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next applicant is Marcus McGraw. Come on up, Mr. McGraw.
Good evening, Marcus McGraw, Precinct 4. I'll just speak to my motivation, which is really trying to give back to the town. In my free time, I'm a user of all of Plymouth's natural resources. I'm a kayaker, I'm a hiker around Morton Park. I have a boat, I go out to Browns Bank, and I just see an opportunity to continue to try to balance out the protection of our natural resources as well as public access at the same time. It's tough to do both, but certainly looking to share ideas with the committee and try to give back as much as I can.
Thank you. Questions from the board? Mr. Canty?
Thank you. Is there anything that the Natural Resources and Coastal Beaches Committee is currently doing that you'd like to see them keep doing if you were to be appointed, or anything that they're not doing?
I read through the recent minutes, and it seems like it's a balancing act between certainly looking at beach issues as well as pond issues, and certainly trying to find ways of improving the water quality of some of the ponds, especially given the bacteria plumes that are out there. Maybe that's discouraging, fertilizers or whatever the case might be. Certainly more of that can take place. In terms of other issues overall, it seems like dogs on the beach are kind of an ongoing conversation that needs to be kind of sorted out. People in the wintertime like to have dogs off leash. They can have certainly an impact on the overall environment, and continuing to focus on the needs of the citizens and what they're looking for in terms of taking advantage of the beaches, as well as what's right for the environment, and continuing along those lines.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions from the board? Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Our next applicant is Joseph McMahon. Is Mr. McMahon in the room? Is Mr. McMahon online? Okay. Our next applicant is Daniel Sullivan. Is Mr. Sullivan in the room? Is Mr. Sullivan online? All right. All right, so we have two appointments to make here tonight. The first is expiring this June 30th for a neighbor from Morton Park. I think by my count, we had two that were qualified, only one of whom appeared to be interviewed by the board. That would be Miss Ford. Pleasure of the board.
I would make a motion to appoint Ms. Ford to the neighbor from Morton Park position with a term that expires on June 30th of 2026.
Mr. Canty makes the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Iaquinto seconds. Discussion? Ms. Iaquinto?
Yes.
Mr. Canty?
Yes.
Mr. Quintel?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Congratulations, Ms. Ford. You've been appointed. Please be sworn in by the town clerk. The next appointment is for a term expiring June 30th of 2028. It's a citizen at large. There were, five other candidates who could qualify, only two of whom appeared here. That would be Ms. Dixon and Mr. McGraw. I'll poll the board one by one. You can cast your vote for any of the eligible candidates. I'll start with Mr. Cohen.
Grace Dixon.
Mr. Quintel.
Grace Dixon.
Mr. Canty.
Grace Dixon.
Ms. Iaquinto.
Grace Dixon.
And myself, Ms. Dixon as well. Congratulations, you've been appointed to the board. Please be sworn in by the town clerk. And thank you to Mr. McGraw for being here as well as those who applied. Our next appointment is to the Plymouth Growth and Development Corporation, the PGDC. We have one term that's expiring June 30th of 2028. We have three candidates. The fourth withdrew. The first candidate is Mark Delfeld. Is Mr. Delfeld here? Come on up.
Good evening. Mark Delfeld, 11 Elm Street. I'm a recent retiree, worked in the high-tech industry for a good number of years. A lot of it in what was called strategy and operations for high-tech companies, where I analyzed, using data and technology to come up with solutions that helped our company become more profitable. I think I can do the same thing for the development the board as well here. Again, there's data that I think can be enhanced with any decision-making involving the parking facilities. I do think that there's a number of constituencies that have to all be met. The merchants, for one, you're going to have to meet their needs. The tourist, you're going to have to meet their needs. The board itself has to be solvent. You're going to have to keep that. There's also another group of, there's people that come here and just visit, like myself. I live in Manamet, and I come in here for the town. There's people that come from Belgium. There's people that come from New York City. They come from Boston. All have different profiles. And if you look, my background is in economics. I have a BA in economics from Columbia University, a master's in finance from University of Wisconsin. And the tourist, if you look at the slope, is very inelastic, meaning a slight increase in price or even a large increase in price, they'll still come. So for instance, if you came from New York City or Belgium, if you pay a little bit more, not a big deal. You spend a lot to get here. However, it's a little bit more elastic if you live here. And so what I'm trying to get to the point here is that there's different profiles of people that visit here. And you have to have solutions that meet those needs. And my ideas would be to craft solutions about those profiles, but at the same time, make the merchants happy, make the tourists happy, make everyone happy, because if that doesn't happen, good decisions aren't made and people are unhappy. I don't want that.
Thank you very much. Questions from the board? Mr. Canty?
Mr. Delfeld, is there anything in particular that the Plymouth Growth and Development Corporation is currently doing that you'd like to see them keep doing, or anything that they're not doing that you'd like to see them start doing, if you were to?
It's hard to say because I don't know what I don't know, meaning they have data that I have. I have researched the data. I do think that there's opportunity for technology to enhance certain, I don't want to get too much into it, but there is even almost a tourism element to what technology can do from a pay station perspective, actually. You can actually upgrade certain facilities that would turn them not just into pay stations, but into what do I do here? What's open here? What restaurant has what special for today? That's a little bit down the road, but those things do exist.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next applicant is Michael Lombard. Mr. Lombard, please come up to the podium and introduce yourself to the board.
Good evening. My name is Michael Lombard. I go by Mike. I'm a Somerville resident. I came out of there, college kid nights, worked for the railroad industry for 30 years. After retiring, I moved back to Plymouth, my wife and I. We own a home right downtown Plymouth on Somerset Street, right around the corner. Now, how did I get into PGDC? Well, that's kind of a long story, but I'm going to keep it very short. Okay, I own a business called Miss Vicky's Plymouth Tour. Downtown, we take tours around town in an electric vehicle, touring car actually is what it is, covered with all sorts of Plymouth. Basically, it's a Plymouth car. So we're very busy with all things going downtown, particularly parking, the issues that the Park Plymouth faces all the time. Those are some of the issues that I got to the point where, well, maybe I better find out what PGDC is all about. So I started going to the meetings online with Zoom. So for the last 2.5 years, I've been attending every one of their meetings, and I've learned an awful lot about what's involved in PGDC. It's not just parking, it's funding certain requests such as Ride Circuit, which is one of the things I did in 2022, 2023. I was one of the guys hired to bring Ride Circuit up and running. Then after Ride Circuit, I went to work for the Mayflower 2. I was there for 5 years, so I got very familiar with all of the tourists downtown and what they were looking to do. That's when I got the bright idea, well, we have some wonderful, wonderful walking tours. What we don't have is a riding tour to go around all downtown. And that's when I came up with the idea to form Miss Vicky's Plymouth Tour. We are members of the Chamber of Commerce. We're members of Sea Plymouth. We're members of the Downtown Waterfront District. We actually volunteer one of the cars for that service. So we've been in business 2 years now. This is we're starting in the middle of April and we'll run to the end of October. Once again, I'm a downtown guy. On Friday nights, you can find me over at the Old Colony Club, having a beer and smoking a cigar mostly. Wearing a top hat in the parade. So I'm very involved in what goes on downtown. And I'm really impressed with what the Plymouth Growth and Development Corporation is doing as far as putting electric, the readers, the electric chargers all along Water Street, down on the north end, as far as creating a parking in back of Nathaniel Martin School, things like that they're quite involved with. And again, once again, they review not all of the grants, but many of the grants to fund certain projects in the community to help things go. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thanks, Mike. Questions from the board? Mr. Canty?
Thanks, Mike. Is there anything that PGDC is currently doing that you'd like to see them keep doing, or anything that they're not doing that you'd like to see them start doing if you were to be appointed?
Well, I'll get crazy. I think we need to put an additional roof on the garage across the street and make another floor, but that's just, out there. One of the things they're doing right now is they're looking at funding the Ride Circuit program for 2026. Now, it's a nice program, there's no question about it. But the question becomes, is the ridership increasing? And that's what they have to do to that program. Otherwise, you've got costs going up, ridership going down. It's not a recipe for success. So that's one of the things I think I can help bring to the table, because again, I do spend all the time downtown in my little touring car.
Thank you.
Other questions? Thank you very much, Mike. Our next applicant is Stanley Wallman. Stanley, it looks like Stanley's online. Go ahead, Stanley. You can unmute yourself and introduce yourself to the board.
Good evening. My name is Stanley Wallman. I live on Sheridan Drive. I'm a voter in Precinct 10. I was interested in serving on the Plymouth Growth and Development Commission because I had the outlook that it was a committee that would try to develop more economic stimulus in the town, not necessarily parking. So I would rather see us spend some time developing our land or encouraging industrial growth in the town. As a person that saw an industry that I worked in crash because of political influence, I think that my contribution would be, as a citizen and taxpayer of Plymouth, to see if we can bring more to the town than stripping out sand pits or having more bars and restaurants on Main Street.
Thank
That's
you.
about the viewpoint I have.
Thank you. Questions from the board? Mr. Canty?
I believe Mr. Woolman answered my question in his comments, but thank you.
Other folks? Very good. Thank you, Mr. Wallman. So we have one.
Thank you.
Sorry? Oh, you're welcome. We have one appointment for a term expiring June 30th of 2028. There are 3 applicants who appear before us. Mr. Delfeld, Mr. Lombard, Mr. Wallman. I'll pull the board. Ms. Iaquinto, for whom do you vote?
Are we voting for just one person now?
Yes.
Mike Lombard.
Mr. Canty,
Mike Lombard.
Mr. Quintel,
Mike Lombard.
Mr. Cohen,
Mike Lombard.
and I will vote for Mike Lombard as well. Congratulations, Mr. Lombard. Please get sworn in by the town clerk. Our next agenda item is a Memorial Hall Facilities Improvement Update. We're joined by Bill Coyle, Director of Public Works. Mr. Coyle?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Bill Coyle, DPW Director. Thank you for having me here. To give you an update on the Memorial Hall projects, I'm happy to update you on several items that we've made some progress on. Last fall, the town moved forward through the engineering division, designed and constructed a curtain drain, essentially a foundation drain that ran along the north side of Memorial Hall, and the purpose of that drain was essentially to intercept groundwater. So it extended from the parking lot, heading towards Court Street, pretty much as far as we could go, which is there's a utility area that's fenced in that sort of prevented us from going any further. So what we did at that point is we also installed a subdrain a sump pump in the green room. So between the curtain drain and the sump pump, we're hoping that will dewater any groundwater intrusion to that area of the building. That's where we saw the water coming in the area of the green room. But in addition to that water, there's also water that comes in through the brick as well. So we have been working with our consultant, SGH, to prepare a bid for the masonry repairs and sealing of the brick. What we are proposing to do is to seal the north side of the building, adjacent to the green room, where the water intrusion was most significant and posed a hazard to the electric room. I think the thoughts were, based on our presentation we had last fall, early winter, the select board and the administration wanted to prioritize, at this point, only funding on safety elements that needed to be repaired. So this project, the design is complete. We'll be working with procurement to put this out to bid in the next several weeks. So it'll be bid this spring with construction of the ceiling of that side of the building, late spring, early summer. So the construction costs are going to be funded primarily through the revolving account. There's $500,000 available through revolving account, and I believe there's also $100,000 through the Visitor Service Bureau for funding. So when the bid goes out, it's going to go out to seal the north side, but we also know there's a problem with the east side facing the ocean. So that's going to go in as an alternate. If we have enough funds available, we will seal that side as well. My feeling is that once this work is done, we've repaired the grout, we've repaired some of the masonry that's spalling, we seal the exterior of that portion of the building. If that's successful in preventing water from intruding the building, I think that'll help the board and town meeting members make a decision going forward on what additional repairs we do. Obviously, if it's not successful, that will also give us information or data that we can use on how to move forward. In addition to that work, we have a boiler replacement project, not anticipated. This was something during the blizzard. There's 2 boilers in the building. This particular boiler completely died on us, so it's in need of replacement. The one that is currently functioning is heating up the auditorium itself. So it does provide heat in the rest of the building, but this, obviously, that's not what it's intended for. Its main use is to, the one that's functioning now is for the auditorium. So this one, we've been removing the old boiler the past couple of weeks. Very heavy, cast iron, not an easy thing to remove. It's been taking a lot of time. That new boiler will arrive this week and will be installed next week. We're also submitting this for hopefully reimbursement through the blizzard damages that have incurred. So we're adding that to the $2.5 million plus total price tag of the blizzard in hopes that maybe we would get some 75% reimbursement towards that as well. So we're including that as well. And lastly, the historic preservation study is going out to bid as well. We have, actually, it has gone out to bid. I believe we have 4 or 5 consultants who have bid that project, and we anticipate that to be awarded in April, and then the completion of that study in August. So that was something that I think Mr. Cohen, was very supportive and was pushing for as well. I think it's a great idea, and they will come back with a recommendation, is also in the RFP, on what they recommend for the future repairs, rehabilitation, or whatever it might be for this building. So again, that's anticipated to be completed in August. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any other questions you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Coyle. Questions from the board? Mr. Cohen?
You are right. I'm interested in the historical bid process analysis of the building. So that bid process has ended. The bid process is closed, and you have your bids and you're reviewing them.
Correct.
And you're hoping to have one by April. And
I would think that we have, I think there's 4 or 5 bids. I think they're still waiting for 2 of the recommendations from the selection committee to be made. So I would imagine by sometime in April, they should be selecting a consultant for that study.
okay, the boiler that we're replacing, how old was that one? I know that we had recently we did buy a boiler. We installed a boiler there a few years back, correct?
I'm not sure
Right.
on that. I can tell you, looking at the photos of what's been removed, that this is very old.
So it's the original boiler, or
It looks original to me. I mean, this is old cast iron that's being taken out of
right?
there. So
I know there was the system that's running now. How old is that one? Is that
again, I'm not sure the age of those 2 systems. I haven't been that directly involved with the actual replacement of those 2.
okay?
But
Because I know back, there was a tour over there this spring,
Yep.
and I thought my understanding was that there was one of the 2 boilers had been replaced in recent years, but that was problematic in terms of how they controlled the heat in the building. They were kind of a stop and go mechanism. It wasn't really giving them the thermostatic control that they need. So I hope that we're paying attention to that other boiler. We're kind of operating on one boiler now. And based on that tour that I took earlier this year, with the loss of one boiler and getting that replaced, we might want to pay attention to the other one. I just thought I'd put it out there.
sure, I agree. And I think I was with you when we toured the building.
Right.
And yeah, they're both on the older side. I think part of it too is, how much money we want to invest in the building, and once the study is completed and there's some direction at
Right.
least recommended, and then the town can make a decision on how we want to move forward. And
Correct.
certainly, if we're going to move forward and renovate the building, we need to look at the other boiler. I agree.
Okay, all right. In the boiler that we're replacing, what was the cause of its demise? Just
I think just age.
okay. All right. Thank you.
Mr. Canty?
Thank you, Mr. Coyle. So circling back to the boiler, will the new boiler also be either on or off in the whole building, or is there any ability to, I know there's no zones, it's just the whole building is receiving heat, or the whole building is not, as Mr. Cohan indicated. So is there a possibility of having that functionality with the new boiler, or will it be the same type of system?
I suspect they're replacing it with not similar to the age, obviously, but
Right.
they're not changing how the building functions in, heating different zones. I think that would be a much bigger project that we'd have to look at.
Okay,
This is going to bring it back to what it's able to do and keep the building heated. In
Okay.
terms of how we control that heat, I think that's a bigger project for the future.
I figured that was probably the answer, but didn't hurt to ask. In terms of the reimbursement, so I know we're trying to seek for the snow and ice component, 75% reimbursement. If this were to be reimbursable, could it be reimbursed up to 75, or would it be a different percentage, or is that hard to guess?
My understanding is 75%. I, think that this one, to me, it's $150,000, so it would be pretty significant.
Okay.
I know we're trying to fast track all the submittals to MEMA and then FEMA.
Right.
So this would be included as part of that submittal, so it'd be a
Okay.
significant number.
And last, in terms of the funding source for now, pre-reimbursement? Where is that?
That's a great question. I wish Lynn was here to answer that. So,
Okay. Mr. Brindisi?
Yeah, so I had this conversation was with Ms. Barrett, our finance director, about a week ago. Right now, as Mr. Coyle pointed out, we're gonna seek reimbursement through the storm, but on the interim, we still have to pay that invoice. So we are expecting to do seek a FinCom reserve fund transfer at the end of the year.
Okay, and the cost at 100% is what dollar amount?
148,000.
Ooh. That comes in just under the balance of the $150,000.
It does.
Okay, we're not expecting any other drawdowns from that account? being
Not to my
necessary?
knowledge, no.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Iaquinto?
Thank you, Mr. Coyle, for the update. I recall from the last time that you were here, we talked about the water mitigation that you discussed, you just presented to us that's in process. We thought that that might give us a 5-year runway to keep the building open. Based on what's been going on since then and now, do you still see that as a trajectory that we can rely on?
I think the priority relative to any of the safety issues is the water intrusion on the north side of the building. Behind the auditorium stage, the east side of the building, the water does come down in the interior of the building, and the water can get onto the floor, and it may extend, a foot or two in that area. So, obviously that's not ideal either. But I think if this solution is successful and works, I would think it would buy us to 5 years. But I also think that if it's successful and works, in the report that comes back from the historic preservationists is that we should repair the building, I think we should continue sealing the entire building. I think the envelope of the building is the most critical thing to protect. So sealing the brick, replacing any of maybe the windows, or repairing the windows and doors and the trim around the building, and making sure the roof is protected. I mean, to me, that should be our number one priority, but obviously we'll wait to see what the study comes back with for a recommendation.
And I also wanted to just follow up with that. I didn't realize that historic preservation study was going to give us recommendations for repairs. I thought it was just an inventory of what the historical aspects of that building were for future preservation. But will that also make recommendations, like structural recommendations?
That's my understanding, is that was in the RFP, was also for them to come back with what their recommendations would be. So I think it's a good thing to have, but certainly we'll wait and see what they come back with.
Yeah, I guess my only concern, I think it's all good. I'm not saying, we shouldn't be doing these things, but we are on the verge of conducting a business case study for the future of Memorial Hall. So it does kind of concern me that we keep investing in something that might not have, a lot of long-term prospects, as it's in its current state. So that would be my only caution as we look at, what the recommendations are that come out of the historic preservation report. I would hope that we would have another opportunity to discuss that within the context of what this building's future is going to look like.
I agree, and I suspect there's going to be a lot of involvement between the board and even potentially town meeting members if we seek additional funding. So I know there's a lot of eyes on this building, and there's a lot of thoughts on what we should be doing with the building. And so I know there'll be a lot of discussion on how we move forward beyond the point of what we're doing, what we consider essentially almost emergency repairs. Beyond that point, then it's up to the town on how they want to move forward.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Coyle. While I have you here, you and I had a conversation earlier today about the status of the roundabouts down in Cedarville. I think my message to you is that the folks who live in Cedarville are very anxious to get this project moving forward. Could we ask you to come back in the very near future and give us an update on the status of that?
Absolutely. And I did speak with James Downey, because he attended a meeting relative to that discussion today. So we'll be able to come back to you and update you on the board on the status of that project.
Any good news from that meeting?
What's that?
Any good news from that meeting?
I guess we'll talk, and give you an update. It's
All
all,
right.
it's all what the desire is and what you're expecting for an answer. So I guess, it's not bad news, but I'm not sure it's, it's gonna meet the expectations of the residents either. So it's something, there is strong support, for the project. I can give you that information, but, it has a process to go through. I mean, we're competing against many other communities right now for funding, so.
Yeah.
But I think there's some encouraging news, we'll put it
Yeah,
that
I
way.
mean, I think we need to hit the gas on this project, and put the pressure on, both on our design consultants and, the state delegation, particularly in light of the, pending projects for, the Cape Cod bridges, so.
Sure. No,
I think anything we can do to move this a little faster, I think we ought to be pulling all of those levers.
I agree. And what I will say, I know it's not, we can come back and discuss it, but I can say our goal is to get the project advanced and ready to go, shovel ready, essentially. But even that takes a couple of years on a project of this size. So that's why I say it's probably not gonna move as quickly as people would like for it to move. But I also know, having worked for Mass Highway for many years, that it's a process and it does take time. But
Yeah, I
we'll-
mean, I think Cedarville would like for the outcome to be open tomorrow. And I feel their pain. And I just want to do everything we can to
We'll
make sure that.
be happy to come back and we can discuss it in some detail at that time.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
All right. The next item on our agenda is the naming of the Route 80 Cemetery. Diane McGuire, our cemetery and crematory superintendent, is joining us.
Yes, good evening. Diane McGuire, Cemetery and Crematory Superintendent. Before we get to the Route 80 and Beech Tree leaf disease update, I just wanted to let the board know that a gift that was accepted by the board has been finished as of December. Matthew and Karen Glynn donated over $100,000 for improvements to the Cedarville Cemetery, which included a stone wall, stairs, railing, signage, and road repairs in memory of their son Joshua, who is interred there. This project has complete, and it was done in a beautiful and meaningful way, and we greatly thank the Glynn family for this long-lasting gift. The Route 80 Cemetery project, on a happy update, should begin clearing on April 1st. We had a pre-construction meeting yesterday, and we are still on schedule to open for burials and pre-need sales in 2027. So bringing us to the cemetery, the name of we've been referring to is the Route 80 Cemetery. The Cemetery Commission voted at their October 15th, 2025 meeting to recommend to the Select Board the name of Freedom Memorial Cemetery for this new cemetery. The Commission respectfully asks that the Board approve this name.
Questions? Mr. Canty?
Could you, if you're aware, could you expand on why that particular name was chosen for the cemetery?
Sure. I mean, there were about 20 that we came up with. We thought of doing one that was specific to the location, like a West Plymouth cemetery. We thought of doing some that would tie in the cranberry bogs, like Bog Hollow. Checkerberry was another one that was out there, Homestead, Patriot. We decided that Freedom Memorial would encompass the individuals who are buried across the street at the Parting Ways Cemetery, and also that this was their homestead, and that they entered the Revolutionary Service, I believe one as a free man, one as an enslaved man, and two others who were former slaves. So we felt that freedom fit, and that was a decision of the board.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Pleasure of the board.
Move it as presented.
Mr. Quintel makes a motion to name the Route 80 Cemetery Freedom Memorial Cemetery. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Iaquinto seconds. Discussion? Mr. Quintel?
I just want to say, Diane, that you've done a great job with our committee. I also represent the board on the cemetery committee, if you will, and it's taken 6 years from start till tonight. Mr. Tavares was chairman of the board, when we started this quest during COVID. We were rapidly approaching, we were very nervous about how we would bury our townspeople. And there is a mass general laws, and no, I don't know the number, but states that we have a responsibility to bury our townspeople. So that's a brief, quick history of it, and you've done a great job, and I just want to say that.
Thank
do
you,
great work.
I appreciate that.
And the committee does also.
Cemetery Commission, yes. It's been a pleasure working with the Cemetery Commission. So thank you for that. I will formally now refer to that as Freedom Memorial Cemetery.
Well, we
gotta
haven't
vote.
voted yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Is there any other discussion?
My apologies, I got ahead of myself, please.
Any other discussion? All right, we'll call the roll. Ms. Iaquinto?
Yes.
Mr. Canty?
Yes.
Mr. Quinto?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Now,
Thank you,
may
I appreciate
formally
it.
call it
On behalf of the
Freedom Memorial
commission.
Cemetery.
Moving on to the beech tree leaf disease presentation, I am joined by Nick Fiella, the town tree warden, and Chuck Bramhall, a Plymouth resident and certified arborist who has been donating his time and expertise to the beech tree leaf issue. So they're going to give you a presentation, and then we can talk about the money aspects.
Good evening, Nick Fiala, Parks and Forestry Superintendent. Again, we're accompanied by Chuck Bramhall, who's been very committed with working with the cemetery and forestry and helping us try to save these beech trees. He's very knowledgeable. He's been very supportive, and I'm grateful to have him here with me tonight. So what we'll first do is go through a PowerPoint that I put together, just kind of giving you an update of what's going on with our beech trees. And then if you have any questions, we can roll through that. And then again, Diane's here to talk more about the cemetery budget and how to move forward, or what we want to do to plan to move forward. With that, I'll get into the presentation. So those are beautiful beech trees that we see on the first slide, which is misleading. I was going to do a banner that said not good news, but I figured we'll start with pretty trees before we get into that. What is beech leaf disease? Beech leaf disease is a serious emerging forest disease. It's caused by a nematode or a microscopic roundworm. It's living in our beech trees, and it's causing them to die back. And unfortunately, it's killing the beech trees, most of them here in Plymouth. Where is BLD, and how did we get it here? So it was first discovered in 2012 in Ohio. It was reported to be discovered in Plymouth, Massachusetts. 2020 is the first Massachusetts sighting. And it's been found in northeastern U.S., Great Lakes regions, and Canada. Recently, it was just confirmed that BLD was brought over from Japan, likely on a pallet of imported stone. Scientists believe that the native Japanese beech has evolved defense mechanisms naturally against the nematode, so they're not being affected over there in Japan. Instead, the American and European beech trees here have shown no natural resistance, leading to rapid spread, and again, it's killing our beech trees. Like I said, it's not a very happy PowerPoint. What is it doing to our beech trees? So fortunately, not all the beech trees in Plymouth have shown to be infected by BLD. Unfortunately, the trees in the Chiltonville Cemetery and here at Burial Hill have all shown signs of beech leaf disease. And unfortunately, there's no cure. So every year I attend the Mass Tree Wardens Association annual conference, and every year we discuss BLD and any progress we've made in finding a cure. And it hasn't been going good for the past couple of years. There are treatments that can help save these trees, or prolong the life, we should say, of these trees, but there is no cure. And we'll talk more about treatment in a couple of slides. How to prevent BLD. Avoid moving or relocating infested stock. So if you have a tree, or a resident has a tree that's infected by BLD, it's best to you could either treat it if it seems to be salvageable, or you would want to likely burn the tree once you have the debris down, but obviously get, the correct permitting from the fire station before you go do that. If there's an isolated tree that's highly infected, remove it. This will hopefully reduce local spread. Maintain tree health to help help fight infections using techniques such as watering, mulching, minimal pruning, and root protecting. Also, some of the treatment options we're going to talk about in a couple slides is something you'd want to consider if you're trying to save your beech trees. And then, of course, use live polls or surveys to gather audience opinions, promoting engagement, kind of what we're doing here, in making sure that the community feels involved, being able to answer any questions or give any guidance. So these are the options currently. The first option, phosphites. So you would do a trunk drench or like a deep root feeding using phosphites. This is something we have been doing to the beech trees in the cemeteries and some of the other beech trees throughout town, like the ones in Chiltonville. This doesn't stop the disease. It doesn't cure the disease. What it does is improve the health of the tree or the vigor of the tree, and it helps as a defense mechanism, or it helps strengthen the tree so that it has a stronger defense mechanism against the nematode. It doesn't stop the nematode. Arbortech 20S is applied through root flare injection. This we haven't tried yet. This is something that we would be looking to do. This has shown to be the most effective. It is costly. So as you can see in that bottom left picture, you hook you kind of tap into the root system going around the tree, and you inject it with this fertilizer called Arbortech 20S. And this actually does slow down the disease. It can be expensive. It's about $1,300 per treatment every other year, which again we'll get into. But this is something that if there are trees that we want to try to keep alive, this would be the treatment that I would recommend. The last option is a broad form. This is something you spray, so it can travel. It doesn't just go to the tree. It can move around the environment. It does contain PFAS. We are not recommending that as a treatment. The alternative to treatment.
Mr. Cohen has a question, if you don't
Yes.
mind.
Yeah, so can we go back, just go back one step? So option 1, 2, and 3, 1 is fertilizing the tree.
Yep, you can
Kinda like
combine
we
that with two.
just, and strengthen it. What is the results that doesn't prevent or stop? It just strengthens the tree
Right.
to fight longer.
Right, so it would be like taking vitamin C if you're not feeling well. It's not going to kill the infection, but it's going to strengthen your body to fight against the infection. Something
But
like
what's
that.
the end result?
Oh, it's slowing it down, but we are losing. It's not stopping it. So we are continuing to.
So on 1, you're fertilizing, and but it's still eventually someday going to take the tree.
Right. Yep, and we have lost some that we've.
You've
treated with
noticed
that.
the blight. You applied this.
Yep.
It's slowing it. But that's all
Absolutely.
you can do.
Yep.
And then in 2 is actually this drawing, this photograph and below, where you're actually injecting into the root system this fungicide that is to be injected into the tree.
Mhm.
What's the results of that? How does that? What did
That. You want to speak more on that?
Chuck Bramall, Master Certified Arborist, and I work with a lot of tree companies throughout the New England area. I was in the business for 40 years, and so same thing, when I go to the Master Arborist meetings, that's what they're talking about right now. The phosphites were the best thing that we had for the last 5 years since we discovered it. Exactly what Nick said, it stimulates the tree's own defense mechanism. The Arbortech 20 it's almost like the phosphite is the natural way of trying to cure cancer or whatever, and then the Arbortech 20 is like chemotherapy. And it's not always guaranteed, but it's a much stronger situation. The good news is it doesn't leave the tree. It's not getting into the environment. You inject it into the root flare, it stays within the tree, It's not going to hurt birds. It's not going to hurt, anything in the soil or whatever. So they are having good luck with it, up in Wellesley and places like that. Tree companies are doing it. They're also mulching, they're watering, they're doing all kinds of things that might not be practical up here in the cemetery. But this is our only hope that we have right now of preserving what trees we have in both Chiltonville and Beryl Hill. And I have some concerns about the ones at Bramhall's Corner. And I know the good news is CVS is going to be treating their tree to try to preserve that beautiful copper beech.
Yeah, I did notice that they've already cut around it to expose the roots, and they have it roped off. So it looks like they are trying to do something about the North Plymouth copper
Beech trees need mulch
Yeah.
to survive.
Oh,
It's a very symbiotic relationship. It's ideal to have the beech leaves ground into the soil. I know that, and also regular wood chips, not broken down wood chips, contrary to what you might think. But I'm sure that's not practical in a cemetery. But the leaves, maybe we could grind them up and leave them. That could help a little bit. But by having those roots exposed, or in a drought situation, none of that's healthy for the tree. So it's a combined effort and a lot of different cultural practices too that could help these trees.
So when you go back to this too, you said there's some good results you're seeing in
There's
Wellesley.
there's
Town.
much
What is
better
that?
results with that, and the good news is you inject it, it lasts 2 years. You don't have to do it every year.
Right.
So what Nick and I planned to work with Diane on is to come up with a plan of which trees to treat, which trees to let go, or which trees are healthy enough that we don't have to do any of these treatments to.
So is this second to option 2, is this actually saving the tree, or are we still in the same scenario?
We're getting good results. The feedback I'm getting from arborists around the state is that they're seeing pretty better leaf color, size, and so forth the following year from using this
Got
treatment.
it. And then the third option that you touched on, you were concerned about the PFAS that are introduced into the environment when using this product, which is a spray on the leaves type of
Yes,
thing.
that would be, you'd have to go up there and spray 100 feet in the air, and who knows where it would end up. And
Do we
I-
know what the results of that activity
The
is?
results are probably similar to the Arbortech, but there's not a lot of companies doing that because of the exposure.
Yeah, okay, good, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
How much life do you get out of the tree when you do these treatments?
Well, we're hoping that some of these trees live 300 years, 400 years. They're not there yet, I don't think. But this could, if hopefully eventually something happens that changes these things eventually. There's nothing natural out there that's taken them, and there's maybe something new comes along. I don't know. But the removal of these trees is going to be absolutely. I think Nick's going to talk about that. The cost is going to be just ridiculous. You can't, it's so hard to take a tree out of that cemetery.
So you do the treatment every 2 years, but like, eventually will the tree have to be removed? Is that what you're saying?
Will eventually, excuse me?
Will the tree have to be removed?
Eventually, all trees will have to be removed. They'll outlive themselves. We're just trying to prolong it.
Okay. Like, are we talking like, we're gonna get another 20 years, 30 years? Hard to tell.
There's not a single scientist that knows that. I honestly can't answer that. We work with UMass. URI is doing extensive work on it. He's hoping to make some breakthrough, but you can't say. It depends on the vigor of the tree. Mulching, watering, doing a combination phosphates and Arbortech could help. The good news is that Nick's crew could do the phosphates for fairly low money. It's not an expensive thing. Labor intensive, but not a lot of output.
Mr. Canty?
Yes, so based on your description of the third option, how it's applied, I don't need an answer for that one. But for the other two, how do these treatments affect the native ecosystem and the effect of, because obviously these nematodes are invasive, but there are other life forms in this ecosystem that depend on these trees for their own life cycles. Is there any effect on the local ecosystem for applying either of these one or two treatments?
Anticipating that question, and it's a great one. So far, they're saying no. So the researchers are saying no effect on anything that would be native soil microbes. No, none of that. It's all upwardly it all moves up into the tree.
Okay.
Birds don't go after the nematodes, so they're not pecking at the leaf.
Okay.
So the nematodes are protected in that leaf. And there's nothing, no ladybugs or anything like that going after those nematodes,
Okay.
to our knowledge at this stage. I mean, things change, but
Right.
this is a highly researched disease right now. It's a
Right.
nematode, so it's not really a disease, but it's causing disease-like
It's a
symptoms.
symptomatic, right?
Yes.
Okay, like malaria.
You're right.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Ms. Doe?
Is there a potential for this to spread to other species of trees, or is it specific to the beech tree?
It's specific.
I'll let Nick.
So this is specific to the beech tree. There are similar nematodes and diseases for other trees, but this specific nematode is just for the beech trees. And so to touch a little more on the question, how long will they last if we do these treatments? And like Chuck said, we don't know, but I can tell you that the idea would be to, in the spring, reassess the trees with Chuck, work with Chuck, go and reassess all these trees and then kind of grade them. Do they need anything? Do they look great? Maybe do phosphites on those ones if they do. Do they look like they're hurting and they certainly need the Arbortech 20S to try to prolong the health? Then we would try to treat those. Do they look like they're too far gone, which is very obvious when you see those, and those we'd have to slot for removal. But the idea would be to try to save any by doing a combination of the phosphites in the Arbortech 20, phosphites annually, Arbortech not biannually, every 2 years, in hopes that they can live as long as a natural life of the beech tree. Not extremely optimistic about that, but they're still working hard on trying to find other avenues and a cure for this. So if we did prolong the life of the tree, we would hope that we could use something that would cure the disease. And at the Tree Warden Conference, I did talk to several dozens of different tree companies, asked them what kind of services do they offer or recommend for these trees, and they all said the Arbortech 20S. Some of them did say we do the broad form sprays, but all you have to do is start talking about the PFAS and the environment, and they said, yeah, we don't recommend it. We do offer it, but we don't sell a lot of that treatment.
Thank you.
Thank you. The alternative: monitor the trees, treat them, or remove them. So if they're gone, they need to be removed. The thing about a beech tree too is the weight and the water retention of a live beech tree is so heavy that when they do start to die, that wood is still heavy and they just start to break and they start to collapse. So it's important to take action when they are beyond salvageable, beyond saving. So that's something to consider too, especially in the cemeteries around these antique stones, unfortunately. When it comes to removal, specifically for Burial Hill and some of the trees in Chiltonville, it's going to likely need to be contracted out, and here's why. The antique stone surrounding all these trees, you're going to need multiple tree crews on every single tree, ropes, climbers, resources I don't have within my forestry division. The crew that I have, the crew of 4 in my forestry division, they are experts. They are beyond good at their jobs. I'm very grateful to have them. We have removed several beech trees along roadsides, unfortunately. But these trees, you're going to need like multiple crews and a lot of time to remove, and that's why it gets expensive. Which brings us to this slide. Treatment versus removal. So I did a little chart over here. The tree quantity at Burial Hill for easy access tree. We went up there with a tree company and we got kind of verbal quote on removal costs for the easier access trees, which we counted about 4. Those are going to run around $5,000 each to remove. It's still going to take multiple crews and ropes and a lot of work. Some of the trees at Burial Hill, we don't even know how we're going to remove them. There's limited access. Even the pathways at Burial Hill, they're They're extremely narrow. They're on hills. I'll keep saying it. They're surrounded by antique stones. They said that those would cost at least $10,000, but again, they didn't even get into how they would be removed. One of them even mentioned helicopters removing the trees, which it sounds crazy. I know, but we can't get cranes in there. It's doesn't look too good. So 18 of the really difficult to remove trees within Barrel Hill. Chiltonville, there's about 14 beech trees that are infected with BLD. We could do some of those ones, so we would look to offset the cost as much as possible within the forestry division. Luckily, some of the trees at Chiltonville have access that we could remove those in-house, so that 270 figure you see in the bottom right, that would be offset by any work we can do in-house. And if we were to treat every tree with the Arbortech 20S, so not including the phosphites, it would be roughly $47,000. Diane, we'll talk more about budget, but something we could look to do after assessing the trees would be to treat some of the trees this year, cutting the cost in half, and then treating the other half next year with hopes to not spend as much money each year. And that's the presentation, but again, we're all here to answer any questions you may have.
Other questions from the board? We were overeager and got to our questions before you finished.
No, that's good.
Mr. Canty?
Are you looking for us to give you guidance, or are you just providing an update and you're gonna?
So I'm providing an update, and my recommendation is to, based on assessment, either not treat the tree if it's not infected, which isn't the case at either of these two cemeteries, or to treat the trees if they're salvageable or remove them if they're not. But Diane, I think, is looking for a little more for you to weigh in on what your thoughts are based on the budget that she has in place for these trees.
Mr. Cohen?
Okay, so in
So,
fiscal year
just-
2025.
I just
think,
had,
Mr.
I
Cohen
just
has
had
a
one
question
more
first.
question for
Oh, I'm
Nick.
sorry, Nick.
Sorry, Nick. So I see here that we're talking about Burial Hill and the trees that are there, priority trees, and then there's some trees in Chiltonville. Are there any other trees in any other the parks in Plymouth? I know that there's substantial beeches in Morton Park.
Yeah.
And obviously, those were planted some time ago.
Yeah.
By the Watson family that once owned the land, who donated it to the town. Their intention was to make an arboretum out there. So if you do wander around the woods of Morton Park, you will encounter these beech trees there. I've noticed them in the, I think they're probably in a pretty tough condition.
Yeah, so Morton Park, we could call a beech tree forest, and it's infected, and there's, at these conferences and through UMass, there's no recommendation to even try to treat these forests. It's recommended to let them take their natural effect, and so unfortunately, it's not looking good for the trees in Morton Park. It wouldn't be possible to treat that many trees. There's saplings, there's mature,
Right.
and they're all connected and they're all infected.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is there plans for that location? Other than letting nature take its course, or the invasive species in nature take their course?
Letting nature take its course in trying to remove any hazards that we identify prior to
Okay.
the trees.
All right, very good. Thank you.
Naturally.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So since we became aware of this issue, in FY '25, we spent $24,016 on treatment in Chiltonville and Burial Hill. One tree could not be saved and began to drop quickly, and that was $3,800 to remove it. So the money for this treatment has been coming from two places. One from the repair and beautification account, which is for all of the cemeteries, and the other is an account that's specific to Burial Hill. As of this morning, when I checked them, they have a combined amount of $26,000. So we do have money to do a treatment this spring, and perhaps from a quick, they need to do Chuck and Nick are going to do a more formal assessment. They do believe there's at least one tree in Chiltonville that is not going to be able to be saved. This has been on the Cemetery Commission agenda several times. I mean, there's a few things that is definitely a couple trains of thoughts. On one hand, they're beautiful, they own character to the cemeteries. We were actually, Connor Anderson actually found a very interesting note for us that in 1949, they were actually planted deliberately. So they are not native to either cemetery. They do disrupt headstones. People have asked if they do drop, will we replace them? Our recommendation would be no. So at the last Cemetery Commission, we said there are three options. One, we do nothing and nature will be what it is. They may die and then they would need to be removed. That's a safety issue. It's also, we're not doing anything. We could continue to treat the healthiest trees and removing some that are not safe. We could also say they've reached the end of their lifespan and, you know, maybe we should try to start removing them. I think that I'm not educated in this, but I'm becoming a little more familiar with the terms, and what Chuck and Nick are saying I think does make sense. Once their assessment is done this spring, they will let us know if there are some that need to go and that some need to be saved. So that said, the amount of money to treat those and remove those is going to eat up the entire repair and beautification account and the Burial Hill account, maybe for several years, which would mean that we couldn't focus on any other projects that come out of this, such as, for instance, we had to replace a large flagpole recently in Vine Hills. We do gate repairs, we do stone repairs, we do fencing, any kind of beautification. So I guess that we just want to know what the board would think. Do you feel that we should expend this money and try to save them? Should we ask for additional money, or should we just sort of let it go? No one has the real answer to this, I don't think. I think that they're beautiful and that they've been there for a very long time. So that's, I think, the update we wanted to give in the direction we wanted to see what everyone thought. We don't want it to suddenly be that we have to immediately remove them and no one knows. Also, there is, evolving science on these that perhaps we can save some of them, and this will pass. So I guess the next step is for the assessment to be done, and then we'll know where we're at with the health of the trees, and we can, I guess, make a decision. I mean, we can come back and let you know if anyone wants to weigh in on this. Please let us know.
Mr. Cohen?
Well, keep us posted. I agree. I think that that's the strategy you have to do, is to make the assessment, see what this treatment will do, but prepared to remove things that that are going to become dangerous in those locations.
Okay.
Obviously. So no, I think you're on the right track, and I look forward to your updates. And I guess we can just hope for the best with this treatment that Nick and Mr. Bramhall is suggesting.
Okay.
All right, well, let's see where the spring brings us.
Thank you.
Folks. Thank you. Excuse me. The next item on our agenda is e-bike education and communication plan. Ms. Iaquinto, the floor is yours.
Okay. We put together this education and communication plan with the help of Jade Anderton and Casey Kennedy and a number of other members of staff. So this has been an effort that has been ongoing since we were last before you to talk about the e-bike bylaw, which was not welcomed with open arms. But we did commit in that process to developing a communication plan. Why am I having trouble with this? What am I not doing? That one, okay. Okay. So I just wanted to remind everyone of what our objectives were coming out of that, the extensive process that we went through to discuss publicly our recommendations for monitoring e-bikes and what some of the feedback was. So this was always all about promoting responsible use of e-bikes on our shared roadways, trails, and paths. As e-bikes become more and more popular and as the technology continues to evolve, we felt like it was important that we get a better handle on exactly what the e-bikes were, how they were classified and how people were using them, and just to ensure that they were being used responsibly. We also wanted to improve safety on our multi-use trails. Specifically, the Seaside Trail was one that continued to come up in conversation where people were concerned about, there was no signage and people were concerned about the safety of that trail. We then wanted to make sure that we were focusing on reinforcing what state regulations currently exist for e-bikes and other micro-mobility vehicles like e-scooters and other things that are starting to evolve and come under that category. And then finally, we wanted to monitor the progress of the MassDOT project. They convened a special commission on micro-mobility, and they just released their recommendations at the end of January. Those recommendations are now with the legislature, with the Transportation Committee, and we are hopeful that they will make some recommendations that will then be passed into state law, either this legislative session or the next one. So those were our objectives. To develop this communication and education plan, we relied heavily on the feedback that we received during our public outreach process. We also contacted advocacy groups. We leveraged the research that's been done from a number of organizations, the Mass Bike Coalition, Rails to Trails Conservancy, American Trails. There are just dozens of them out there. So we looked at what they were doing and what they were recommending, and a number of them have toolkits and templates that we were able to use. We looked at what some of our other municipalities were doing in terms of communicating about e-bikes, and there are a couple of municipalities up there that we checked out what they were doing, and we were able to borrow, with permission, from some of their efforts. And then we did look at for some additional guidance from the Massachusetts Chiefs of Police Association, issued some guidance. We consulted with our own Plymouth Police Department, and we also consulted with the state delegation, who's been keeping an eye on what's happening at the state level. So lots of involvement there. That resulted in a 3-phased plan. I'm going to show you phase 1 tonight and just talk briefly about what's planned for the other phases. But phase 1 is very simple. We're going to post some signage on the Seaside Trail, and I'll share with you what that signage looks like. We also developed and are ready to launch a dedicated educational webpage on the town website. And I can show you that. And if we're happy with that, that can actually go live immediately. Phase 2 will be to create an educational pamphlet that will be based on the content of the webpage, and we'll be able to distribute that at various community events and in different venues through the library and other events that might happen around town. Also hoping to partner with some of our bike shops so that they can distribute it to their customers. We'll also be identifying other parks and trails that could use signage. I know that's a process that's currently underway. So, for example, could we use some signage at Forges Field? Are there other areas around town that could benefit from some of these efforts? And then, as I said, partnering with local bike shops and other community groups to promote safe ridership. So we'll be looking for opportunities to do that throughout the year. And then finally, in phase 3, also keeping an eye on whatever new state regulations evolve from the MassDOT recommendations. We'll want to bring that forward and make sure that we're adhering to those recommendations as well. Okay, so here's the sign. This is what we've come up with, and we are open to some suggestions, but I think that this is a pretty good representation of what we see as best practice around the Commonwealth, as well as across the country from other states that we've looked at the efforts that they have and the types of signage that they're using. So it's very simple. You know, these are shared trails. We always talk about what's allowed. Class 1 and Class 2 e-bikes are permitted, nothing over 20 miles per hour. All of this adheres to the current state regulations. Pedestrians will have the right of way, encouraging people to keep right except to pass, announcing that they're there. Very, very simple, common sense kinds of suggestions in the signage. The website has a number of different sections to it. Let's see, different pages here. So it talks about where you can ride, where you can't ride. It will provide some overviews of Massachusetts laws, the e-bike definitions, traffic laws and safe riding tips, best practices, sections on battery safety that is very important, a section on electric scooters. There are special requirements for those. There's an FAQ section and some link to resources. So I won't go through all of that with you, but page 2, page 3, so this is where all of the content lives. Oh, and I'm stuck. I'm not going any further here. Okay, so I wanted to just spend a minute talking about the MassDOT recommendations, because the report that they came up with is really robust. They did an incredibly comprehensive look at micromobility and what that means to the future of sharing the roadways safely and effectively. So their objective was to increase mobility options, reduce emissions, and stimulate economic vitality, all of which I think are things that we would want to be promoting here in Plymouth as well. And what they came up with was a roadmap to, basically they looked at the legal classifications of micromobility vehicles. They wanted to ensure safety. They established some driver's education requirements. They came up with 16 recommendations, and some of them include, listed a few of them here. They've changed the classifications of e-bikes. If you recall, it's very confusing to know the differences between them, and right now they're just classified very, very loosely, and it causes a lot of confusion. So they're going to come up with a speed-based classification, which I think makes a lot more sense. They're going to pilot a micro ID decal program, which will, on a state level, issue little decals with information on them that everyone will need to use on their vehicle that can be tracked. They're going to set speed limits. They're going to do an educational campaign looking at automated enforcement. So if someone goes through a red light, they could have a little system up there that will track it, and they'll get their ticket in the mail that way. And then they're looking at expanding their e-bike rebate program. The state currently has a rebate program, and that will reimburse people for the purchase of an e-bike depending on their own income level. So they're looking to expand that. But they're also doing a lot more. So it's a pretty robust program. There's a link in the slides if anyone is interested in looking at the report. So for timing and next steps, as I said, the website is ready to launch. The signage will be ready in 4 to 6 weeks. Then we'll start working on phase 2. The pamphlet can be ready within 6 weeks. We're already looking at where we might put additional signage, and we'll be starting to work soon to develop the partnerships, and that will be an ongoing process. And then phase 3, which is the alignment with the state regulations, that's TBD, pending the legislative action. So that's what we're thinking. Signage and website for now, more to come as we get more information, but I'm open to questions. And
Mr. Cohen?
So on phase 3, to be determined pending legislative action, you gave a little update early in the presentation. Any sense of the timeline between the general court and its deliberations and decisions? I know it's in a committee that you mentioned.
Yeah, it's in committee, and the most recent information I have is that the decision could possibly be made in this legislative session, but if not, in the next one.
Okay.
So that's as definitive as we could get.
So, so you could hear some news in June.
Could be. Yep.
Right. Right. When does this session end? Is it around June?
I think it ends in June,
Yep,
yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Technically, it ends December 31st, I think. They do informal sessions after formal session adjourns. So they could do it during informals, I suppose. The end of the year, until the new session is sworn in.
Okay.
Other questions? Deb, could you go back to the signage?
The what? I'm sorry, which side?
The sign, I think it was the second or third slide. Yeah, that one. The first bullet point, the second bullet point, class 1 and 2 e-bikes permitted. Do we currently restrict class 3 bikes on these paths?
The state restricts class 3 e-bikes, so we're trying to align with what the state currently
On
regulates.
shared paths?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. They go over 20 miles an hour, and that's really the cutoff, according to the current Massachusetts general law.
Okay, thank you for that. And then on the first bullet point, excuse me, this could be semantic, I don't know. Are there class 1 and 2 e-bikes that do go above 20 miles per hour?
Not unless they're modified. And then we have a section on the website that talks about if you're going over 20 miles an hour, you're not on a class 1 or class 2 e-bike.
Okay. Those are all my
It
questions.
pretty much just follows along with the state regulations.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? So are you looking for us to endorse the phased plan?
Yeah, there's vote anticipated on the agenda, so yes.
All right. Pleasure of the board. Mr. Canty?
I would make a motion to approve phases 1 and 2 of the e-bike education and communication plan.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Mr. Canty makes the motion. Excuse me. And Mr. Cohan seconds. Discussion?
Oh.
Mr. Canty?
So, Ms. Iaquinta, I appreciate all the work that you have put in, as well as members of the staff and members of the community in trying to talk about this issue, present it to the board, and
Thank you.
get community feedback. I said it previously, but I think it bears repeating. I don't think we have talked about an issue in as much depth as a board as we have about e-bikes, and I think a lot of that is because of your work. But it is also the work of other people in this building and elsewhere as well. So I appreciate the process that you've gone through and the outcome that you've achieved.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. And I think what I'm most excited about is that where we ended up, I think we ended up in a really good place. And this is because of the input that we got from the residents. You know, this is what people said, let's try the education first. Let's do more communication and just make people more aware of how to ride responsibly. It was never our intention to prohibit e-bikes, but always to ensure that people were using them in a responsible way. And I think that this gets us there. Combined with what the state will come out with, I think that, you know, we'll be right where we want to be.
Yeah, and I think as we saw from our public hearing process, there were strong opinions on multiple sides of the issue. But I think it wouldn't be necessary to pass regulations if it weren't for certain people misusing them or for certain people using them that maybe shouldn't be using them yet in their life and are not making rational choices. But I think what you're doing here And what the state is doing hopefully will help to address both the bad actors and maybe the people that should slow it a little down and wait until they're a little older to make these decisions.
Yeah, and I think there are a lot of advantages to e-bikes that, environmental advantages, just, all sorts of accessibility.
Right.
Advantages. So I think it's something that we definitely want to encourage, and it really is sort of the future of the way people will be moving around the world. So
Yes.
I think we need to just get out ahead of it and make
Right.
sure that we're putting
This-
some guide rails in place.
Right, the sales keep increasing, so the sooner we do something to help the problem before it gets out of hand, the better. Thank
I
you.
agree. Okay.
Other discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the roll. Ms. Iaquinto?
Yes.
Mr. Canty?
Yes.
Mr. Quintel?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Myself, yes. It's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you all.
We'll move on to Select Board Special Town Meeting Article Submission Discussion. I know that a few of my colleagues have articles that they'd like to submit. Mr. Vice Chairman, would you like to go first?
No, but I'd like to put an article on for town meeting to appropriate $50,000 for the July 4th and $50,000 for a Thanksgiving celebration for the 250th year. And in with that, the VSB is holding aside $75,000 seed money for the 250th committee also.
Okay. So you're, I think you'd be making two separate motions. The first would be to fund $50,000 for July 4th Plymouth for the 250th anniversary of the birth of our nation. Is that correct?
Yes.
Are you looking to do that out of free cash?
Yes.
All right. Is there a second to Mr. Quint? Sure, please.
So do we know what it would do for the July 4th committee to have the additional 50, like $1,000, what it would help them to do or do more of? Or has that conversation been had at this point?
I know that Mr. Tavares did send a letter of support, at least to me and to Mr. Quintel for this. It would go towards the annual celebration, fireworks, the parade, the music component down on the waterfront. And then obviously if they have funds beyond that, when they do their fundraising, they could do additional programming as well.
Okay.
Mr. Cohen? Or were you looking for a second? Oh, Ms. Iaquinto? I'm going to do questions, I guess.
Yeah. How would this tie into the 250 commemorative committee that we have just established? I would think that we would want to wait to see what they came back with.
They're going to be
for-
a part of the committee. I've already asked them.
Who's going to be part?
I'd have to ask Mr. Tavares, he's chairman of the July 4th.
No, I know that they were-
Designate, well, I can't say who they're gonna, I'm assuming it'd be Matt, but
Okay.
I could be wrong.
Okay.
Are you asking, Ms. Iaquinto, if there's separate funding for them as well?
Yeah, I know that we have that committee,
Hmm.
and I know that Mr. Canty's question, what is this for? Do we know what it's going to be used for? And I know I would be more comfortable, especially with the budget discussions that we've been having, because we're asking for a combination of a total of $100,000 to know to know that there's a plan for how it's going to be used, rather than just giving it to the people that run the parade. But then we've got this whole other 250 commemorative committee that will likely be coming up with plans and ideas too that could potentially be looking for funding. So I'm just trying to understand how it all ties together.
Yeah, the 250th commemoration committee is planning on getting funding from the Visitor Services Board. I think you folks are holding $75,000.
They haven't even asked for it yet. There is no 250th yet.
Yeah.
We're putting it together now. out of courtesy, Steve's here every meeting, he made a suggestion that we do it. Because the town, you know, unless somebody else here on the board knows what's going on this year, because I don't. So they're all doing their own things out in their own, several of them are. The idea was to bring it all together and promote it as a community. That was my idea. There could be different visions. There's 5 people sitting at this table. So I will support anything that supports anything for the residents in this town. That was my objective and my idea to bring forward.
Mr. Cohen?
So the makeup of the 250 includes both the 4th of July parade. They're going to be asked to have somebody on the 250 committee. So obviously the discussions on the 250 committee would be focused around that. But again, time is of the essence. We're now closing in on April as we plan the 250th recognition of the founding of our country here in the town of Plymouth. And so putting this committee together, freeing up these funds to help these 2 major events that take place in Plymouth already and how we can enhance them, that can be obviously something that both entities can deliberate, but they will have a forum during these 250 meetings to take input from the rest of the group on what the focus might be. But I think the chairman has already indicated of the 4th of July parade is focused on the fireworks, I think. So it's kind of emphasizing that component of it. So I do believe that there is a vehicle for these entities in this group to have these discussions about where the money might enhance their 2 events.
So Mr. Quintel has made a motion. Mr. Cohan, were you seconding?
Yes, I'll second it.
All right, so the motion is to supply or to fund $50,000 in donation to the July 4th Plymouth Committee through free cash. Mr. Quintel makes the motion. Mr. Cohen seconds. Further discussion? Mr. Canty?
So although I was not in favor of cutting money to July 4th or Thanksgiving as part of the 1% budget reduction exercise that we went through, I do have hesitation in the current climate for putting $50,000, even from free cash, towards a purpose that seems somewhat generalized rather than with specific things that will be accomplished and details as to what it would enhance. I think that maintaining the current level of funding was responsible and defensible, even with some of the consternation and fears about the budgetary cycle. But I do think that adding to it in that climate may not be wise in the totality that we have to consider. So for those reasons, I will not be able to support this particular appropriation request.
Further discussion? Ms. Iaquinto?
Yeah, I completely agree the spirit in which this was proposed, and I do love the idea of having the 250 commemorative committee pull together so that we have a more strategic approach to how we celebrate. But again, with the budget discussions that we've been having lately, to spend this kind of money on a one-day event makes me really uncomfortable. So I don't feel that I can support it either.
Mr. Quintel?
Well, I think we should support it and send it to town meeting and let them decide. I did go to the finance director before I brought it up. She said the money was available and, it's free cash, so.
Mr. Cohen?
And just, you know, I'm sympathetic to the comments of Mr. Canty and Deb, but I do believe that it's going to town meeting, and town meeting will take up this discussion. I think we should provide them the opportunity to have this discussion about the possibility of increasing those two events in Plymouth to highlight this 250th. So it's just, you know, in feeling that way, I would be in favor of sending this to town meeting for them to deliberate on it.
Further discussion, Ms. Iaquinto?
I'm not opposed to sending it to town meeting. But I personally don't support it. But I do agree with you, Mr. Cohan. I think that it's something that, you know, we should leave it to town meeting to decide. They'll have to be discussing this within the context of all of the other budget conversations that we have.
Further discussion?
I
Mr. Quintel?
I totally agree about the budget discussions, but we pick and choose certain things we're gonna have budget discussions on. We asked voluntarily to cut a 1% out of the budget, and you just didn't support that. But yet, this is something for our residents, and you don't wanna support it. That's where I get confused. And it's not gonna lower anybody's taxes by no means. It's so sad. You want to talk about budgets. There's not even enough money in the levy now to pay the recap for the snow plowing. And that's all I'm going to say. Thank you.
Well, I
Ms.
personally
Iaquinto?
think that there's a difference between supporting funding people's positions in town on funding a parade. So that's kind of where I draw the line in terms of what I want to consider cutting out of the budget. But I will support sending this to town meeting and let them decide.
Mr. Quintel?
With all due respect, I don't believe we use free cash for funded positions.
Mr. Canty?
One-time revenue.
I think what was demonstrated by the 1% exercise was the value of the services that were delivered to residents through the budgetary process, that for things that were not cut, and the harm that would have caused to residents. So I do take issue with the characterization that not making the cuts that were not made there was not for the benefit of residents. I have said before, I will say again, not every resident depends on every service, but every service is depended upon by some resident in this community. Some services are depended on by many, many residents. That is what the budget does. The town provides services to the community. And I agree with Ms. Iaquinto on that it is different spending money for a parade or for fireworks. Not that I am against that. I maintained that funding levelly through the 1% exercise. But adding to it afterwards is a different conversation, and one that I think is not timely in the current circumstances.
Mr. Quintel?
And as I said during those budget conversations, you just prolonged it 365 days, or as John Mahoney would say, we're kicking the can down the street.
My concern all along has been with the maintenance of our excess levy capacity. This motion will not affect our tax levy, and therefore I'll be able to support it. Any further discussion? I'll call the roll. Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Mr. Quintel?
Yes.
Mr. Canty?
No.
Ms. Iaquinto?
Yes.
And myself, yes. All right, we'll insert that. We'll submit that to town meeting. Mr. Quintel, your next motion would be to fund $50,000 through free cash to the hometown Thanksgiving celebration. Is that correct?
Yes, for this year only. Yes.
All right. Mr. Quintel makes the motion. Is there other questions for Mr. Quintel? Mr. Canty?
So the Thanksgiving celebration obviously happens in November. Is there a reason we couldn't keep the free cash in free cash for the time being and appropriate this money in the October town meeting as opposed to at this town meeting in case that money is needed for other purposes in the meantime. I'm not sure what the money is specifically going to, and I don't know when the funding is expended by America's Hometown Thanksgiving celebration for all of their obligations. But given the timing of the event, I think the question is relevant.
Mr. Cohen?
I guess it would be a logistical thing. Obviously, town meeting meets in October. There's the 10 days after town meeting where they have to attest the vote, and then the money is freed up. And it may or may not pass at town meeting, so it'll be very difficult after all of that is said and done that the America's Hometown Parade could effectively utilize the money to its utmost. Obviously, knowing in the spring they can do some planning to maximize the effect of that money. And again, hopefully, we're going to be appointing, I guess, next week, the committee, 250 committee. So they'll be moved, that's on the schedule 2 weeks from now. So they'll be they'll be meeting. So obviously, they'll be able to weigh in on what could possibly happen at the Thanksgiving Day parade in relationship to the 250. So I would, if we are going to entertain this, I think it should be a spring town meeting for logistical reasons.
Mr. Canty?
With that in mind, do we know what America's Hometown Thanksgiving celebration would use the additional $50,000 to fund if it were given the opportunity to have it in hand after the April town meeting?
Mr. Quintel?
For their expenses for running the hometown celebration parade. I'm sure if you needed a breakdown, Ollie would be happy to come in.
Ms. Iaquinto?
So there would be nothing new? It would just be their regular expenses?
I would say that to make the celebration greater was my thought. Where it's the 250th anniversary, this community worked very hard with two committees. Then they had a town committee, then they had a regular committee. License plates and the whole 9 yards, and the whole thing pretty much went out the window because of COVID. Nobody's fault. So in my thinking, I thought that this would be an opportunity to have some of the celebrations brought back and make them a little better than they usually are. And, you know, if you don't want to send it to town meeting, but I will say this, I don't want to send one without the other.
Mr. Cohen?
We could make sure that obviously the 4th of July celebrating the Day of Independence is also naturally geared to accommodate a greater celebration around the 250th. The November Thanksgiving interconnected, obviously through history. We might make a caveat to this that they've utilized these funds to highlight the 250th anniversary of our country. I know that they've done some reenactments. They're quite impressive, revolutionary reenactments along their parade route. This could be part of that equation. We just, reference the importance of highlighting the 250th as part of this contribution.
Are you okay with that, Mr. Quintel?
Yeah.
Other questions for Mr. Quintel? So Mr. Quintel has made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll make a second. Do I have to make an amendment to his motion to include the 250th focus?
You can. I think he's already accepted it.
Okay, very good. Then I'll just second
All right.
with that accommodation.
All right. So Mr. Quintel makes the motion that we fund $50,000 for the America's Hometown Thanksgiving celebration in order to highlight the 250th anniversary of the birth of our nation. Mr. Cohen seconds. Any further discussion? Mr. Canty?
So for the same reasons I was unable to support the prior appropriation request, I will be unable to support this. Although it is free cash and not raise and appropriate, it is still money that is being taken from the possibility to be used for other sources. We buy capital items with free cash. We fund a number of projects with free cash. And as our fiscal situation tightens, I think that it is important that we hold the line where we are for the time being on certain things. I did not support cutting money from the Thanksgiving parade celebrations as part of the exercise that we did some weeks ago, but adding money to it, I think, is a different conversation, like I said earlier, and that is going to be why I will be forced to vote no on this.
Ms. Iaquinto?
Yeah, I personally am not in favor of this, but I do have respect for the town meeting process and would prefer to send it on to them and just hear the debate again within the context of the broader budget discussion that I know we'll be having.
Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, Ms. Iaquinto?
Yes.
Mr. Canty?
No.
Mr. Quintel?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
And myself, yes. All right. Thank you, Mr. Quintel. Mr. Canty, I believe you have several articles you'd like to submit.
Yes, they're all related, but they relate to the budgetary process. Currently, spring town meeting is, of course, in April, and the local election is in May. And what I am seeking to do is to move the date of the spring town meeting into May and to move the election into June. The reason being, as our financial situation continues to tighten, we will be more dependent on numbers that come down from Beacon Hill. And with the current timing of our budgetary process in Plymouth, we are often operating on very incomplete information from Beacon Hill. Ways and Means typically completes their review of the budgets, both House and Senate, in May. And that usually represents a state aid number that is reliable for the votes of the full chambers of the House and the Senate up on Beacon Hill. So moving the town meeting into May with the flexibility maintained that it would allow it to be moved within May from the date that has been chosen, which is currently the date that the annual election happens, would give us more information while we were making budgetary decisions at town meeting. If that occurs, currently town meeting is conducted by people that are given an opportunity to watch months of FinCom meetings that are televised, starting right now in January, running up through March, and then there's a caucus season. So I think it would be only prudent for us to move the election so that everyone at town meeting was a town meeting member prior to town meeting happening, prior to the FinCom meetings occurring, so that everyone has the opportunity to go in informed because they all knew they were going to be town meeting members. I think if we did not move the election, well, number one, it would be challenging given the date I've chosen to move town meeting, but number two, it would also leave it that at least in every precinct there would be at least 3 town meeting members that are up for election that may not know that they're going to be elected or that they're going to be reelected, which could hurt their level of information. So I'm seeking to move town meeting to the default date where the election currently is, with the current ability to flex it within that month, as we did this year with April, but this would still apply in May, so it could be moved later depending on when Memorial Day hits if we were inclined. And then moving the election into June to allow for a town meeting to pass, and then for people to focus on their local campaigns and elect people in an informed environment in advance of the fall town meeting. So there are 2 articles to amend the charter to accomplish this. I will give a detailed presentation on those next week. And there are 2 articles to amend the bylaws because both the charter and the bylaws deal with when our election and when our town meetings are held. So those are what I am seeking to do.
Questions for Mr. Canty? Mr. Cohen?
Not a question as much as I think this is, obviously, the board has been discussing this idea of budget oversight and trying to create an environment where we can carefully examine the budget in coordination with the school department, with division head, the town manager, and eventually sending it to FinCom and on to their subcommittees and eventually caucuses and town meeting. I think that I'm very supportive of the 2 articles that are addressing the charter and 2 articles that would address the bylaws as it pertains to when we have our town meeting, moving it out to accommodate this much-needed discussion and education that we're going to have to go through. And also, as you mentioned, the importance of getting closer to when the state announces its state and local aid. That's obviously going to have an impact. So it addresses 2 very important issues. So I'm very supportive of these articles.
Other questions for Mr. Canty? Mr. Canty, your first motion?
Do we want to do them individually to insert them, or could we do them as a group since they're all related
Could you just give a brief description
of each one?
of all 4?
So the first one is a charter amendment to move the spring annual town meeting date. And that would allow it to be held within the time period that I'm seeking.
I think you need to take a vote on each of them, right?
We could move it as a group, but.
Oh, you can?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
But I'm going to describe them. Then there's also a charter amendment to move the town election date, so it does not conflict with town meeting, and allows for everyone to be informed therein. There is then an article to amend the general bylaws that deals with the spring annual town meeting and town election date. And then there is a separate general bylaw that deals with when the spring annual town meeting warrant closes, which is just being adjusted to be more in line with the current pacing of that, but moving it back in the cycle to accommodate a later town meeting.
So I will second those 4 articles, 2 addressing the charter, 2 addressing the bylaw on the date of which we're having our town meeting and the date of which we'll have our town elections.
So Mr. Canty makes a motion to submit 4 articles to town meeting for the special town meeting happening this spring. 1 to amend the charter to change the date of town meeting. 1 to amend the charter to change the date of the election. 1 for the bylaw to amend the bylaw to allow for changes to town meeting and the election date. And a final for a bylaw change for the warrant close date, correct?
That would be correct.
And Mr. Cohan seconds. Any discussion? I think this is a very forward-looking initiative for the town. It'll allow us to do better to forecast our budget. It'll align better our town meeting with the state's budget forecasting. So I think this is a very smart move, and I'm in full support of it. All right. Any other discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the roll. Ms. Iaquinto?
Yes.
Mr. Canty?
Yes.
Mr. Quintel?
Yes.
Mr. Cohan?
Yes.
And myself, yes. It's unanimous. Are there any other articles that folks would like to submit for the special town meeting this spring? I will bring up, earlier tonight, we had a request from town meeting member Al DiNardo that we insert a non-binding resolution into the warrant. I'll read that into the record. The proposal states, whereas the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, through the Governor's Office and UMass Lowell, has established the Massachusetts Roadmap for Advanced Nuclear and Fusion Energy to explore carbon-free, reliable energy solutions. And whereas the town of Plymouth possesses unique existing electrical grid infrastructure at the site of the former Pilgrim Nuclear Power Station, that is highly suitable for the development of modern small modular reactors, SMRs. And whereas the town of Plymouth faces significant financial challenges, including the proposed need for 8 additional firefighters and a new fire station in South Plymouth to meet the modern safety standards, as well as sustain budgetary pressure on our schools, law enforcement, and other municipal departments. And whereas the current federal administration and the Department of Nuclear Energy has prioritized a domestic nuclear renaissance, providing a rare opportunity for the town to negotiate for fortified security and a permanent solution for the spent fuel rods currently stored on our shores. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Plymouth Town Meeting formally signals its openness to enter into exploratory discussions with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, UMass Lowell, and the Department of Energy regarding the feasibility of advanced energy technologies at the Pilgrim site. Be it further resolved that such discussions must prioritize the funding of proposed public safety staffing needs and the construction of critical infrastructure, the stabilization of school and departmental budgets, and the protection of existing open space, and the immediate evaluation of freeing up $10 million in the Nuclear Mitigation Fund for the benefit of the taxpayers. So Mr. Donato asks that we insert this, that we submit this non-binding resolution to town meeting. Is there anyone on the board who would like to do so on his behalf? Well, out of respect for Mr. Donato, I will make a motion to include his non-binding resolution on the town meeting warrant. Is there a second? So I've made the motion and Mr. Quintel seconds. Is there any discussion on the matter? Mr. Cohen?
Well, it's a non-binding question. I think we all know the moderator's concern about non-binding questions at town meeting. I did have a chance to speak to the moderator, and he plans to, indicate that this will be out of order. Obviously, town meeting has a vehicle of choice of how to address that decision, but this is a very important issue that requires the community's input. And if we are going to send an article to town meeting of this nature with our name on it, I think we have to go through a series of public hearings and reach out to the larger community. I want to, commend Mr. Donato's, thought process of pointing people in this direction. But I think that this, for us as the executive board, if we're going to send something to town meeting under our name, we would have done a level of due diligence during the process that would give town meeting something to work with. The town, our former government does allow for someone to petition an article at town meeting. So Mr. Donato has other vehicles to send articles to town meeting other than this board. I think that my reservation on approving this motion on this language at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen. I actually, although I made the motion, I couldn't agree with you more. I actually think that this discussion doesn't necessarily belong at town meeting right now. I think it's actually something we should go to the ballot box with. I think we should put a non-binding question on the May election ballot. I'm interested in exploring the possibility of small modular nuclear reactors for the town of Plymouth. If, I've always said if we were to explore reinvigorating the nuclear power plant, we would need to have some serious discussions with the community at large. And my support for such a project would be contingent on some kind of host site rate for the ratepayers here in the town of Plymouth. Although I did make the motion, I plan to vote against sending this to town meeting. I do think it's premature to send it to town meeting. I think we ought to engage a wider audience, and for me, that's the town voters. Ms. Iaquinto?
I agree with you, Mr. Golder, and with you, Mr. Cohan. I do think that this was a well-intentioned attempt to open the door for conversation, and like you, I am also very open to having these discussions about the future of that plant and what different energy alternatives might do for us as consumers and us as a town. But it really concerns me to think that we would send this off to town meeting without having really rigorous conversations from people who actually understand what we're asking for, and that we're very specific in what we're asking town meeting to debate. And I feel like that's a long way down the road.
Mr. Quinto?
Yes, I agree with you, Mr. Chairman. But I also felt that it needed to be brought to the board. It's been no secret that in the past, I've even addressed one town meeting with remarks to that. But I also want to reiterate that I wouldn't do anything to hurt anybody or anything in this community. So it should be investigated, get all the facts, and I just don't think this is the way to do it. So there should be a process and a lot of scientific data. This isn't about personalities, it's about what they're doing all over the world. In France, they built a factory and they're reusing all the energy. I'll give you the one we had, I'll just use the term dinosaur. The SMR 300s are a lot different. They are moving them, and you know what? At the end of the day, it's up to the community. It's not up to whatever our personalities might be and might not be. Nothing's easy, but, you know, I think in the future, the town needs to look at everything. And if it doesn't meet muster, it doesn't meet muster. But I'm going to vote against it also because I just don't want to see it turn into chaos without the proper vent that it really needs. Thank you.
Further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the roll. Mr. Cohan?
No.
Mr. Quinto?
No.
Mr. Canty?
No.
Ms. Iaquinto?
No.
And myself, no. So we will not submit that as an article for town meeting. I will, however, commit to Mr. Donato and others who are interested in this. I know Mr. Quinto has expressed interest several times that I will look into what our options are for engaging the wider community on this. Perhaps we'll hold an open forum that could inform a future the future submission of a non-binding question for the ballot. All right. We'll move on to the town manager's report. Mr. Brindisi.
Great, thank you. So just a few updates, because I know a lot of folks have asked questions regarding a yard waste drop-off day, given the storm. And, you know, you drive around town, you see a lot of yard waste out there. So we did announce last week that there will be a yard waste drop-off. There'll be 2 days coming up, one on March 28th and one on March 29th. That'll be held at 131 Camelot Drive. That is the area behind the wastewater treatment plant. So both of those days, the yard waste drop-off will take place from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. So again, just to repeat, yard waste drop-off, March 28th, March 29th, 8 a.m., 2 p.m., 131 Camelot Drive. We talked a little bit about the cemetery this evening. We expect that there will be some land clearing that will take place in the next couple of weeks. So you'll start to see a lot of activity take place up off of Route 80. But because of the weather can still be difficult in the early part of April, we will be planning a groundbreaking ceremony sometime in late April to early May. So there'll be a lot of the land clearing will be complete by then, and at that opportunity, we'll have a chance to conduct the groundbreaking. I want to thank Joe Young and his team. So we talked a little bit about this last year, where there was some concerns by folks in the community about our Mass GIS layers not being updated. And so we just received word this past week that all of our maps have been updated. And the state has a benchmark of having 95% of your maps always current. We've actually exceeded that, and 99% of our maps are updated through Mass GIS. So that is a lot of work. It took a lot of time through the IT department to complete that task. But again, congratulations to Joe Young and his team for accomplishing that 99% mark. Those who are tracking town meeting that's coming up, April 2nd, I'll talk a lot about this as we build up to it, but April 2nd will be the moderator's town meeting preview. It takes place in this room, will take place at 6 p.m. And I just wanted to bring of note, our recreation division yesterday announced its half-day summer program, which takes place at West Rec. We opened up around 7:30 in the morning, and I believe it closed at 8:45 a.m. We had 225 spots that were already filled within over an hour. So we'll be looking at that program. We know there's a high demand during the summer months for recreation activities and summer programs. So we're going to think of ways that we can expand that, knowing that there's a high demand. And last, I just wanted to mention that those of you who go to the library, trying to reach the library, we've had some problems with the phones the last couple of weeks. We think we remedy that on a temporary basis. We need a long-term fix. Our phones at the library are very antiquated. So starting tomorrow, the phones will be back up and running, back operable. That'll be a temporary fix until we can come with our IT department can come up with a long-term solution. Pending any questions, and that's all I have for this evening.
Thank you, Derek. I think I just want to touch real quick on the Mass GIS. I want to thank Joe for his work on this. I know it was a bear to tackle. We were very far out of regulation with our mapping. And I believe he had a staff disruption as well with the GIS manager. And so he took this on himself. So I just want to express my gratitude. These Mass GIS requirements can impact funding from the state. So to be at a 99% complete mark is tremendous. Hopefully we'll maintain that moving forward.
We'll try.
Mr. Cohen?
So this Saturday and Sunday at Campbell Park, we'll be taking yard waste.
March 28th and March 29th.
Okay, so March 28th and 29th.
Yes.
Now, if it gets, I've worked and volunteered for Chemical Waste Day, and the traffic backs up, and there's a whole strategy of notifying people when best to come. There's always a strategy of people going and scheduling when they'll drop it off so that you won't have to wait in line. There's different things you can do to accommodate large groups of people showing up to drop off that waste. But if this does show a need for additional days, will town staff consider possibly expanding it to another weekend?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay,
absolutely.
so if it does get busy, you'll consider that?
Absolutely, yes.
All right, thanks.
Other questions for the town manager? All right, we'll move on to select board discussion. New business. Mr. Quintal?
Yeah, this afternoon, the VSB voted to discontinue the lighting on the lamp posts throughout the town. We're going to reallocate the money to expand the holiday lighting from Brewster Garden into the Gristmill Park, Jenny Park. We feel it's a better use of our funding, and it's a more family-oriented for the residents, and something we all felt was a worthwhile goal. So we're going to use the lights, Nick's going to use the lights that he has, and then that funding will be reallocated to decorative lighting into Brewster Garden and Jenny Gristmill. when that's finished. And then the next phase will be like the old-fashioned lighting we used to have years ago in town with the bells and the star in the middle, you remember? So we're outsourcing that to, even if we have to do it, you know, so much a year from North Plymouth down. So that's, we're doing that. And we've also talked tonight with Amy Naples was there and the other young lady from the downtown Plymouth.
Christine? Christine? I think it's Christine. Christine?
Christine, yeah. She was there and we started talking about something on the waterfront and I asked him why we don't have a blessing of the fleet or a festival down there. So they all started talking and Amy's going to come before the Harbor Committee on a Thursday. I asked her to with Christine and see if we can get something going that way. So, and all these ideas and things we're doing is to promote and help the businesses, you know, in the area and the families, the residents. I mean, you know, people come from everywhere to look at the holiday lights. There was a lot of calls to the chamber, and so that's, you know, I thought that was pretty positive, so I wanted to touch on that. The second thing is I'd like to, I don't know if this is the proper place, but I'd like to add a spot on the 31st of March to have former Selectman Tony Provenzano come in and give us an update on where the 400th was or is and what is happening, because there was questions of, you know, like where's the money from the license plates go? I mean, I don't even know who does it, who doesn't. So he has offered to come in and give us a full presentation or an update on where that is. So if there's any questions or concerns from board members, bring them with you on the 31st. That's okay?
Yeah, the meeting will be yours, Mr. Quinto, as I will be out of town for that, so.
Well, no, but I just, you know,
Yeah, sure.
that's the only thing I would ever add, and I think it's important, because a lot of people don't know really what, you know, what happened
Yep.
and how it was reallocated, so he'll come in, he said he'd be more than happy to, and update us.
Other new business, Mr. Cohen?
Just to comment on, it's interesting, I was looking at some old pictures and saw those Christmas decorations, and I thought to myself, how difficult would it be to bring those back? They're just a star and two bells, and they were draped across the street, and they looked
Awesome.
they looked really cool. If you want to see them live in action, you can always watch It's a Wonderful Life, because when Mr. Bailey runs through town, he's running underneath this decoration that used to frame our downtown at Christmas time. So I look forward to that. This March 31st, is that on the agenda or set for Tony to come in?
Well, I wanted to ask the chairman first, because he's not gonna be here, but.
Right.
So if you have any questions, but
Okay.
I don't really know anything of
Okay.
what happened to him,
All right.
you know.
Okay, very good. Just checking. Thank you.
Letters? Old business? Mr. Canty?
I've noticed, I've brought this up in various forms before, but this is mostly for Derek. So it appears that in the last week or so, the protective barrier around Zero Spooner Street has either been vandalized or repeatedly struck by vehicles. I'm guessing vandalized, but it is, several of the little gates are smashed back. Some look broken. The little feet that they're in are scattered around. And obviously, I don't know what the status of I know they were put there because the roof was a concern for passersby. I don't know if, given that the barrier seems to be a moving target in and of itself, I don't know if there's anything we could do in the medium term or short term to address the roof so that we don't need the protective barriers anymore, but I wanted to bring it to your attention.
I'll follow with the facilities team and see what we can do for the sliding roof. I mean, we'd have to get a certified roof contractor up there that can, because that's slate. Or maybe we can just find some more stable Jersey barriers, like the concrete ones that are less movable, possible?
Yeah, they've taken some type of significant damage in the last week or so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Other old business? Mr. Quintel?
Sorry, just a lot of things happening this week. Last evening, whatever evening it was, I've been out quite a few this week. The ZBA hearing on the Pulte project. I know I was there. I saw Bill come in. I know Kevin was there, and I don't know if Deb was there. If you were there, I didn't see you. So pretty much we're all there. I did put a call into our council today to ask, you know, if it was to be appealed or turned down, then appealed, or approved, then appealed. I had some concerns and questions, and one of the things I asked was if they vote in favor of it in the neighborhood or whoever, the group appeals it, you know, does the mitigation points that they've mitigated so far go away? And the answer was possibly, pretty much so. So I don't go to ZBA hearings and speak as a resident or as a selectman, as it's, one, my choice, and two, it's a board that I appoint, or I have appointing authority on, and council's always advised against doing that. So to the people out there watching and listening, when you see me sitting there, those are the main driving forces, because if it has to go to court, and it does, and there's testimony, I don't want to hurt the town. So it's not that I'm for the project at all, trust me. But it has a process, and it's going through that process, and whatever they decide, I just want everybody to understand out there that there's mitigation points like the water, I think it's called the water loop on Prince Street. There's something they're talking about, paid parking. There's mitigation points. And sometimes, regardless of which way the ZBA does their business, if there's a group or an attorney out there that's gonna appeal it, then those mitigation points could go away, and you could end up with a worse project. So I know how upset everybody is about the traffic. I've been sitting through most of the hearings. And I just wanted to say that. I'm not gonna say anything else on it, but I do my homework. I know what you say. I live there. I've lived there all my life. So it bothers nobody more than it bothers me. But I cannot get up and speak at a ZBA meeting. And just to touch on it, I think that you were treated disrespectfully last night, Mr. Canty. I thought that was uncalled for, and I didn't want to say it last night there, but I will say it to you today.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I just was really speaking to the people, because this is where I can speak to the people, and I've done all that homework, so, I still with you, but just be careful what you're wishing for and follow the letter of the law. And it's out, the state has this law, like I said to the state delegation when they were here, what can you do for me? I said, I'll tell you what you can do for us, fix 40B. So, maybe all the towns need to get together and be one voice in the whole state. I think that, not saying we're against affordable housing, but there should be a way to do it that's better than the way it's done. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Mr. Canty, I'd like to echo the vice chairman's statements about the disrespect that you were shown last night. I think this is problematic across many committees in our community right now. There's a lot of real toxicity, infighting, bullying, inappropriate grilling of presenters and speakers and public commenters and fellow committee members as well. I'm sorry that you had to experience that last night. I think you comported yourself very well. I think that you represented our board well. I would like, and if my colleagues agree, I think we ought to send out the guiding principles that we reaffirmed earlier this year, to remind committee members, and I think it goes to all committee members, not just the chairs of boards and committees. I think it should go out to everyone, so that there's a reminder that we're all neighbors. We're supposed to be working together in this form of government. We're always going to have disagreements. There's obviously passions on sides of many different issues here in this town, but we have to treat each other with respect and kindness. And I'd like to see that revived here in Plymouth. Unless there's significant disagreement on that point, I'd like to ask our executive assistant to send that out post haste. Ms. Iaquinto?
I couldn't agree more. I think that that's a great idea to just as a reminder to everyone about how we should be treating each other. I mean, we're all volunteers. We're all volunteering our time. And I think when the residents come before us with an issue, especially one that's as emotionally charged as the 40B development in North Plymouth, you have to listen with empathy. And unfortunately, that hasn't happened at every ZBA meeting that I've attended, and I've seen it happening across other committee meetings that I've attended too. I know that everybody sort of is high anxiety these days, myself included, because there's a lot going on. But we just have to remember who we're here to support and serve, and it's our residents. And when we lose the respect for each other and for our residents, then we might as well not be in our seats.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes, earlier this year, we as a board decided to reaffirm the guiding principles. And since May, I've had a chance to attend a number of meetings, and I've seen this behavior escalating over a period of time. It has to be addressed. I think that, when you apply to serve on a committee or board, you should not only, there's a box you check that you saw the guiding principles. I want that to be, I think we should advocate it to be signed so the person understands the importance of such a document. Again, it's just whether you're on a committee or you're going to a meeting, you want to have always a high level of respect for everybody involved in the process, because we're all living here in Plymouth together. We're all trying to grapple with these issues, and the dignity that elected officials need to demonstrate, committee people that need to demonstrate when interacting with the general public who are coming in, who are concerned, should be our highest priority. I find dignity a better way of behaving, because it really does give you the guidance to tackle some very tough issues, but holding firm to your beliefs and treating people kindly. So I'm glad that the board feels this way, and I think we should entertain the idea with the town clerk about, rather than just simply hitting a button online when you apply for the job, that it's printed out and that you sign it when you come to be sworn in. You sign that document.
Mr. Canty?
Thank you. So I think that sending out the guiding principles would be a good idea to everyone again, and I think that the requirement of them to sign it would be a good idea as well. I do appreciate the remarks of my colleagues about the way that I was treated last night. That is not my primary concern about what I witnessed last night, however. My primary concern, I'm an elected official. I signed up for this. A certain amount of criticism comes with this job, fair and unfair. But the way that residents were treated, the way that people who are just concerned about their neighborhood, their homes, the single biggest asset that they own, being affected by a project and voicing their concerns to town officials, the way that some of them were treated, I found to be measurably below the standards that I think we should set for each other and for ourselves. And I hope that that improves at the ZBA, and I hope that it improves throughout the community. People should have the ability to come and talk to elected appointed officials, express their concerns, and be heard and be treated with dignity and respect. We are not always going to agree, but if we are going to have a democracy, if we are going to practice that democracy, we need to be decent to each other. And when we fall short of that, we need to take stock and make amends. And I hope that that process begins. Thank you.
Other old business? Derek, the only other thing that I have is that now that the snow has fully melted at this point, I've noticed that a lot of the streets are very sandy. And particularly in Manomet, the catch basins are bursting at the seams with pine needles and leaves and sand and all kinds of gunk that's sort of run off through the various storms. I'd just like to highlight that for the town so that we can get some assistance down there so that the spring rains don't flood the rest of the town.
I can follow up.
Any other old business? Mr. Cohen?
Let's get another meeting.
No, that's all I had, Mr. Cohen. Our next meeting is scheduled for March 24th. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I will, but just before I do that, I want to wish everybody.
Turn the microphone on.
Before I make that final motion, I'd just like to wish everybody a happy St. Patrick's Day, and very impressed with my colleagues' wearing of the green. I think that's, even Mr. Malaguti has a nice green shirt on today, so that was a very good gesture. So happy St. Patrick's Day, and I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Cohen makes the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Canty seconds. Further discussion? Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Mr. Quinto?
Yes.
Mr. Canty?
Yes.
Ms. Quinto?
Yes.
And myself, yes. We are adjourned. Happy St. Patrick's Day.